Welcome back to Always Almost There, a Goose podcast by Storm Sound and Osiris Media. I'm Neil.
I'm Brian, aka Jive Goose.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Kev. The four of us are here today for the first part of our summer 2025 recap, covering Bottlerock through St. Louis.
Now, Kev, did
Yes,
you know
sir.
that people don't have to listen to this whole summer tour recap in two parts?
That's a great point, Ryan Storm, and I'm glad you brought that up because it brings us to the listening habits of our listeners who should be listening to Always Almost There in whatever increments are acceptable to them. 10, 15 minutes, 2x, 3x, whatever you guys need to do to get through this with us.
Yes. We thank you for being here. It was a long summer tour. It felt like a long summer tour. I guess it was normal length summer tour.
Still going.
But
It has not finished yet. That's
true.
an important part of this.
For Fantasy Goose purposes, there are two more shows on this summer tour. Newport Folk Festival on the Jive Goose's birthday and Park City Song Summit.
And not just for Fantasy Goose purposes, it actually will still be summer.
It will still be tough.
Well, it'll be summer for the first half of quote-unquote fall tour, too.
For seasonal purposes as well.
Yeah. Shout out to all the teachers who love to abide by the proper seasons, a.k.a. arbiter of things proper, friend of the pod, be done.
Hell yeah.
It's going to be a long one today, folks. Strap in.
It is. So, of course, we said Napa through St. Louis. Before we dive in, I think this has been a good thing that we've been doing lately, but I'm curious everybody's big picture thoughts on the tour, off the jump before we go show by show. Let's start with you, B. What are your big picture thoughts on the Everything Must Go summer tour?
It's been a sick tour. So many sick.
Bro.
No, it really has been. It really has been a strong tour, and I think a lot of times we talk a lot about setlist construction, and I think we're gonna have a lot more positive things to say about that for this tour that tours past, and lots of great jams that we're gonna talk about as well. So yeah, I am stoked on it so far.
Kev, what about you?
Yeah, what I would say, piggybacking off of Jive Goose's suggestion about the set listing, they have gotten sort of comfortable in this formula of these songy first sets, 6-song, 7-song first sets, and then saving those larger jams for the second set. Have sort of gotten comfortable with that formula, and it arguably has been working very well for them. So to see them kind of find that space, find their groove as a 4-piece has been exciting this summer.
Formula.
Neil?
Formula.
Dictate.
Don't even. Well, I have a lot of thoughts on this tour so far. I think there has been a fun factor increase to their shows, especially as this tour goes on. We have the introduction of Goose on the regular, which is a really exciting aspect of shows, and I think it has ramped up the fun factor. I think what's sacrificed because of that fun factor increase is some more exploratory jams. So I think you'll maybe hear us sometimes when we do this podcast, these next two recaps, lamenting kind of the absence of jams in certain shows. But I think that is in exchange for what Jive was saying, even better set listing, which I think is great. This band has now played these kind of full, holistically good shows. And the other thing that I kind of think about when I think about this tour is the number of incredible segues. There are tons of them, and this band historically has been bad at those, and they're very, very good at those, especially in the first half of this tour. There's a bunch I definitely want to highlight today. So, I mean, I think there's a lot going on with this band right now. They're very different than they were in February. I think in February we had really high hopes for them being this insane, improvisation machine. Didn't work out that way, at least in the first half of this tour that we're going to cover today.
Yeah, I mean, I think just expanding off of everything you guys have said, because you guys are right. The main thing to me is that there's a new quote-unquote formulaic Goose show, and it still feels pretty fresh at this point. But I think you're not getting, the 2024 formulaic kind of show, which was getting a little bit,
Formulaic, would you say?
Formulaic. Oh, that's a good word, Neil. But I think, one of the things about the second sets, especially late last year, is like they needed to shoehorn in a cool down song a lot of times. That felt like this summer, there are some sets where they didn't necessarily need to do that. and they're like, yeah, we're just gonna, jam a bunch of things out. That's one thing, but to me, yeah, the new normal is amazing, and it seems as though they want to keep building on that as time goes on. So I'm ready to dive in because, of course, got a lot to talk about here in the first half of tour. I mean, we're gonna start off with Bottlerock. May 25th, they performed 2 sets at this show. We had a VIP set. Initially advertised, or was said to be, not advertised, but was said to be acoustic. Ended up not being acoustic. Ruined a lot of people's fantasy Gooses.
Who was saying that it was acoustic?
Some sources.
But who was putting it out there that it was acoustic?
The Always Almost There podcast account.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, that was us. Because of some trustworthy sources, who I will not name, but it was not acoustic. They played Rockdale Lead Up, California Magic, Hot Tea. Pretty much, if you were going to guess what is a 30-minute festival set that they're going to play to a non-jam band crowd, that's basically it. And then the main festival set, you got Hot Love, Animal, Silver Rising, Your Direction, I Would Die For You, Hunger Sight, Slow Ready, Give It Time. Yeah, nothing to say here except for I Would Die For You foreshadows the summer of sauce that is to come. There is a lot of sauce on this tour, and it kind of starts with this I Would Die For You. But the Bottlerock slot here, I think, was really big for Goose. Looked like they had an amazing turnout. And some people who were there said that a lot of people were really into the set. So that's always a positive thing. Anything else to add on this show before we head to the first headline date?
I have absolutely nothing to add. I mean, it's exciting that they're playing these larger festivals like this and getting kind of these bigger, larger tech slots in these festivals. That's cool.
Yeah.
But the drawback, of course, is you don't get the kind of show that fans are really into. And I think that's what we can say about this. This one was out there. They were playing the hits, and that's it only. We get that again later this tour with Racket. And I think we similarly will breeze over that one when we kind of go over it. There's nothing to dissect here.
And I feel like of the few festival sets on this tour, this is the only one that really went in the most predictable direction. I think the other ones were not as easy to guess. So I think that's a pretty cool thing.
And as a festival set, I think they've gotten really good. And we've talked about the set listing earlier, but they've gotten really good at dialing in these festival set lists.
100%.
Yeah. So, I guess that's the one thing I will say, right? So you measure this against Beale Street, for example, and you look at the construction of these set lists. The catalog is in so much better of a place right now, where the festival sets aren't exhausting or completely predictable, and there's some cool stuff thrown in there. You get a Hunger Sight, Your Direction. I'm still not sick of it.
New fans, man. They're looking for new fans. And what a better way to do that than throw your songy songs at them.
There we go. And what a better way to do that than play a show like they did first night in San Francisco. B, why don't you take us into the first headline date of Summer Tour here?
Okay. The Masonic, San Francisco, California, May 27th, 2025. Great city. I think we all agree. Set 1, the ironic How It Ends opener, Iguana Song, Flow Down, Born, One In, One Out, Green River, set closer. So yeah, nice little 1-2 punch here to get things going. How It Ends to begin the show. I like it. And then I feel like we've been getting a lot of these mid-set flow downs. So
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe that's an okay spot for it. Because I think as an opener, maybe I'm a little bit like, oh, okay, well, wonder what they're going to play second. But after How It Ends an Iguana Song, that's okay, and another kind of just stretched out intro there, I think, is the norm now. And then a really nice Born here. I think it's on my playlist. I mean, this is a potential bracket jam.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So
I don't disagree.
Yeah, and I don't know that I would compare it super closely to Eugene Bourne. but I think more than just geographically, these boards do have some similarities. So great jam though, and not super long, but again, just kind of a nice, really mellow, efficient jam. One in, one out, which I really love. I feel like it's on a little bit of a break right now, which confuses me a little bit. Um, but yeah, hopefully we'll see that coming back. I think what's interesting. I think one of the interesting things, we touched on setlist construction, and part of setlist construction is what is what's being played on heavier rotation, what's kind of been put on the shelf. And so there's a really lot of interesting things happening, and it seems to be kind of fluid. The one in, one out was a song, we got it twice during the February shows. And then now, it seems to have disappeared for a while. So yeah, really interesting stuff. I think we'll talk more about the set list construction and the various kind of elements of that as we move through this tour. And then Green River closer, and some people have said to go listen to this.
You haven't?
No, I have. It's
okay. All right, just checking.
Sick.
It's so good.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you guys, kind of talk a little bit more about that one.
Yeah, I think this was a fantastic tone-setting set for the tour. You come out, how it ends immediately. It's like, all right, you're not getting a 3-pack every show. Like, this is immediately like unpredictable set listing is continuing from the first part of the year. And I mean, Iguana, fantastic. Flowdown had a great tour. Aside from the last one, I think every version had some extra, like something to it. Like, it's not just them just like dicking around in the Flowdown intro. Like, Peter's doing some synth stuff. They're getting a little bit dark or weird with it. So I appreciate them doing something different with it. And I agree with you, B. Like, the mid set feels a little bit less predictable, which is, a trend. But this segment of Born One In, One Out, Green River, like, aside from the segues being fantastic, was incredible at the time. Because it's like, oh, like, this is what we're doing this tour. And I think this show is a weird way to start, because it's not really an indication of how this tour is going to be. As you mentioned, Kev, talking about big picture, a lot of the first sets don't really have this kind of jamming in it.
But the Born in the Green River.
Correct. But I'm saying, like, this in the first show of the tour, like, I wrote about it the next day and I was like, this is what we're doing this tour. I made some very big sweeping predictions that mostly did not come true. Yes. I was on the
grandiose. Yeah.
Yes. But man, B, you kind of talked about all there is that needs to be said about this Born, but this Green River I've listened to so many times. I will never forget the moment where they started jamming it out. And I was like, this is a thing now? Like, this is what we're doing? And then the way that Cotter and Trevor lock in on the pocket in this Green River is absolutely ridiculous. And, like, this is the first case for Quartet Goose that you make on this tour, because you don't get this kind of, fluid pocket with a percussionist, with a fifth person there. And I think that it also speaks to how much of a leadership role Trevor has grown into recently, because the two of them are very much driving this jam. While obviously what's at the forefront is Rick and Peter on that 2-guitar attack, this is a rhythm-driven jam, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, I still can't believe that it happened the way that it did. Great first set.
You can tell Ryan's a company man now, because he talks about Trevor in a leadership role. And anyway,
I'm gonna stand up and do a rare thing here and defend Ryan. I think Trevor, yeah, man, I think Trevor has done an amazing job in the said leadership role, and you can hear him, playing progressions and playing melodies, and like more often than I used to, having Rick come on the back of that and be like, oh, that was cool, and then he starts playing the same thing. I mean, I don't think that was happening in, as much in 2019 as it is.
Even 2024.
Well,
even 2024.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I wasn't questioning anything about Trevor. I was really just saying, Ryan
questioning Ryan.
works
Yeah.
for a big
Yeah.
corporation now, and so he's dropping. He's talking about synergy, and we're gonna let's double click into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Six Sigma Storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
There we go.
Trevor's obviously the man. I wasn't disputing any of that.
Good.
Yeah.
Neil?
Trevor's pleasing the shareholders. In any case, I love the way the set is constructed. I do think how it ends as the tour opener. I mean, it's a little on the nose. It's a little, kind of funny, ha. But the song is brilliant, and it might be one of my favorite new songs, if not my most favorite new song. It's like a little cliche to write a song about death, but there's something about this song that like really just tugs at my heartstrings. Every time I've heard it, I've just been like, oh, this is so good. And I just lyrically, I think it's amazing. So it's a killer song. I wish they played it more often. We get it to start the tour. That is great. Iguana song, they keep saying it over and over again. This song has a big future, I think, for this band. There is a segment in it that just yearns for a gigantic jam, and I hope that is coming someday soon. I do like this flow down. I do like this approach to flow down because we've heard a zillion flow downs. It's my most commonly heard Goose song live, and frankly, I think most people who listen to Goose are tired of it. So, thank you, Goose, for taking a different approach. I like this like kind of Dr. Darkness kind of approach to it. I don't really remember this version too well, but Rick has gotten down on his knees and twisted the knobs a little bit to start off flow downs on this tour, and that's dope.
Yeah.
So they can do that whenever they feel like it. And, they throw in Saints teas. And all
they
that
don't
kind of
they don't
jazz.
ever do that. So that's Cool. Yeah.
Like Jive, I think this Born is fantastic, and I don't know if it's a playlist jam. I need to go back and listen to it. Actually, that endorsement makes me want to go back and listen to it again. But that's what my notes say is just like Eugene Bourne, not as good.
Oh, and that's why it's not on your playlist?
Yeah, because I hate the song. But in any case, the segue into One and Out, we can't walk away from the set without talking about the segue because it's so ridiculously good and so atypical of this band. That is amazing. The last thing I'll say is Green River, 13 minutes of, it's not even 13 minutes, it's like 12 minutes. But the jam that they get into in this is so, and the reason why Ryan likes it so much is because it calls back to like 1997 Fish. You get like Rick doing like funk vamping in a very Trey-esque way. But the thing that is most fishy about this is Trevor, as he does a bunch of times this tour, is channeling Mike Gordon. I'm just like getting straight Mike Gordon vibes from Trevor, which he has done historically, but I think really, really heavily in this jam. And the result is actually kind of sick. And Goose won't ever play Green River when I go to see them, but it is now my number one chase. And you can make fun of me for that, but it is my most common not seen, and I need to see it.
Well, I mean, maybe you'll get to Susie Q, right? And
I got to Susie Q in New Haven.
I've got two
it's
of
like
them.
Green River.
Yeah, it's like the same thing. It's all the same.
Neil's also seen Run Through the Jungle, so you've basically seen Green River.
Yes, it's all the same.
So let's go to
set two. Okay, Big Modern opening up the set. Creatures, This Old Sea, Atlas Dogs, Dripfield, Don't Do It for the encore. I don't have a whole lot to say about this set. This is a lengthy Big Modern, but I feel like Big Modern's a little bit tough sometimes because all the jams are pretty good. But I think there's only been a handful that I really would put above the rest. And I think this one is kind of just down with the pack. And then we get a Creatures here. And the Creatures has a nice little jam too, but again, nothing that I get too excited about. And I'd probably just say the same thing then about This Old Sea here. I think This Old Sea is probably my favorite jam of the set, though. I will say that. The thing about this set that confuses me a little bit is the Atlas Dogs. And I know there's been some discussion around, some people like Atlas Dogs in set 2 at different places and whatever. But this set looks perfectly set up for a kind of a classic 4-song set 2 that Goose has been doing that would have felt natural and right to me. And then I think the drip field, could have gotten those 8 minutes of a kind of a jamless Atlas Dogs. So that one's a little bit funny to me. And so the drip field's really short. And then Don't Do It Encore, it's up there with Love Light, in terms of,
We have 5 minutes. What are we gonna play?
That's where you do like a Dawn, just something short.
Well, we'll talk about a speed run SOS in a few shows. But yeah, I mean, I love this set a lot, and part of that is definitely attendance bias, because I had the time of my life during this set. I will, just before I talk about the jam specifically, I want to talk about this Atlas Dogs B, because there are 4 Atlas Dogs on this tour. 2 of them happened in the second set. One of them was at Racket, so kind of doesn't count. But I like it in this slot. And I think it speaks to them trying to do something different with the song after being, very predictably first set fare for a really long time. And it also gets used as kind of a launch pad into the next song, which I think was something they were kind of workshopping with it. So yes, while I definitely would have preferred the drip field to be 7 or 8 minutes longer, or whatever it was, I appreciate what the band was trying to do here with the Atlas Dogs. And I think that's important for them to be trying new things, especially it's night 1 of tour. And I mean, we're going to get a really sick drip field about a week and a half later, or a week and a half. Yeah. A week and a half later. So, I mean, to me, it's kind of apples and oranges here. I think part of me wants to critique the fact that they didn't jam drip field longer, but part of me also wants to really support the fact that they are trying new songs in different placements. But this 3-song stretch to start off the set, the Big Modern, the Creatures, the This Old Sea, I absolutely adore. I mean, I've definitely, as tours gone on, I think I'm starting to get over my Big Modern song bias when I'm ranking the jams. My love for the song has not diminished, in case anyone was curious. Neil can attest that I'm still just as excited when they start it. But this jam I initially had ranked very high after this show. It's definitely dropped down my playlist quite a bit. But I think this is also them trying to do something different with it. You kind of get that bliss early on, but then you have that very Rick rhythm driven segment kind of in the last 5 or so minutes, that feels like they're trying to push beyond where Big Modern is going. And once again, like with the putting the Atlas Dogs in the second set, a big theme of this tour is we've done this song in this specific style for a while. How can we do it differently now? Like, how can we push the jam in a different direction? And we see that with Draconian Meter Maid, once they hit the East Coast, which we'll talk about in part 2, the kind of shift that happens there. But it feels like they're not just content to sit on like, okay, Big Modern is a Bliss vehicle and it's only going to be this same Bliss jam every time, even though there are a few versions that just kind of fill that role. This Old Sea, though, this is it for me. As you said, that this is my favorite jam from this set. I think now, 6 weeks later.
That's got the Hunger Site jam in it, right?
The Hunger Site jam?
Yeah. No?
I hadn't thought of it that way.
Am I thinking of a different one?
Maybe. But what I love about this one is just the interplay between Rick, Peter, and Trevor, and Cotter's dynamics play. That's another thing that you only get when he's able to do whatever he wants on the drums. And there's this one part of this jam where it feels like a wave kind of receding out to the ocean and then coming back in. They drop down to almost near silence, and then they all just come back in this beautiful, kind of washing up on shore kind of effect. And that's the imagery that comes to mind every time I listen to it. And I adore it.
I've got a couple things to say about the set. One, I guess, semi-hot take, which is I don't hear the variations in Big Modern that I think you hear. They all kind of sound the same to me. They all have the same arc. It's all building to the big peak and the big peak and the route. And then the unfinished versions like this one just kind of have that big peak and that's it. And like, it's cool. And I love it as a set 2 opener. We see it a bunch as a set 2 opener. And I don't know, there's just really not much substance to it. I feel I'm starting to feel about Big Modern the same way I feel about Arrow, which is sometimes it doesn't really do anything that I'm really
Sacrilege.
looking for. I know, like, but I have to say this because I really do believe it. It's still a dope song, and I love it when they play it. That doesn't mean like I hate it or I
Right.
think it's bad or anything like that. But I think creatively, there's not much happening here. It's just all about the build to the big peak, and then they're out. And then maybe sometimes you get the ending, you get to like turn to your buddy and go bass, and like that's sick and like super fun to do. But other than that, like not much to write home about. And I think this is the biggest big modern of the tour. I think this is just short of 24 minutes.
I think Vegas. I guess
No.
this is the biggest one because Vegas does have the ending, so this is the longest in terms of jamming. But I think Vegas is the best.
Yeah. So I mean, cool, And then the only other thing I want to add about this set is this old C. To me, what I hear when I listen to this is that style of jamming, like the Bros would, that it has like kind of that 70s rock, like Grateful Dead kind of mashed up with the Allman Brothers kind of vibe, and that I dig a lot when they do it. There's nothing really special happening here. This is the best jam of the show, but it isn't really something to write home about, I don't think necessarily. But I love the style, and I love it when they do this. I think it's always fun. And they explore a bunch of styles over the course of this tour, and this one is a neat one to throw in here and there. It's a cool approach, and otherwise, there's not much to write home about. Atlas Dogs in the second set, I don't necessarily hate it, but I also agree with B's point, where if you shaved off this Atlas Dogs, you could just get more drip, and drip is sick. So, yeah, I mean, that's all I really have to say about this show. Overall, this is a good show, though. Like, this is the thing that I was talking about leading into this. The fun factor of the show is high. There's lots of excellent quality music. There's very few opportunities for you to walk away and go to the bathroom during this show. It's beginning to end entertaining, I think. You might want to go during Don't Do It, actually. That's like a really great time to pull it off. But otherwise, yeah, decent show.
Beat the traffic back to your hotel. Kev, anything to add
you
here?
know me. I love that in the encore. I'll do that in the encore every day. Sorry, Kev, go ahead.
No, I'm good. I was actually going to transition us. We're giving out these bathroom tips here. Transition us into night two, if that's
A lot of bathroom opportunities in night two.
Yeah, night two at the Masonic, as Jive Goons pronounces it, in the fantastic city of San Francisco, California. We already agreed was a wonderful, wonderful place to
Great
see
city.
Goose. Yeah, great city. We're going to open set one on night two with So Ready, and we're going to follow that up with Draconian Meter Maid, into Mr. Action, into a Father John Misty cover of I'm Writing a Novel, into Salt. And again, we're getting into the 7-song first set territory, Turn Clouds, and then we're going to close that first set off with Torero.
I mean, if I can weigh in here, this is a weird set because you have a couple of great jams. I mean, the Salt is a fantastic jam. I think the Draconian Meter Maid is really good. And there are some people that really love this one. And this kind of kicks off the first part of the summer where you're getting this really emotional, heavy bliss in Draconian Meter Maid, and this is fantastic. But this Salt is what I think this song should be. And it was played 5 times this summer. This is the jammiest one that we got, and I'm a little bit disappointed in that. I have to say, especially after this one, I was like, yes, like it's going to be the summer of Salt. Like this is going to happen. It's going to go 20 minutes. It's going to be huge. And I think after this, it's like you're getting it you got it as an opener. You got it as an encore. You got it as a set closer. A couple of times.
It's such a great song. That's it's great to use in those spots. That's why
100%. But the improvisational potential within this song gets tapped into. I think this is one of 2 versions of Salt that have ever kind of explored what this song can really do. The other one being Utah last year. And this one is like you're getting into this like filthy charging jam. And I love it. Crazy Train tease. Rick loves the Crazy Train in the Salt Jam. This has happened a few times now, but weird call for Turn Clouds after this Salt. The momentum of this set is like really building up. And if they had just done Torero there, walked off, they would have also had a little bit longer for set 2. But yeah, I mean, I like the Toreros in regular rotation. And that was kind of the indication here. When Goose debuts a new song, it's like, is this going to be played once a year or is this going to be in regular rotation? I think this play of Torero is like, great, it's in regular rotation now. So that's what I got on this first segment.
I know we talked about improved set list construction in the intro, and we're going to get to some of that, I promise.
But yeah, this is not it.
But all I really want to talk about is this salt. And yeah, so this is definitely on like the micro jam of the year playlist for sure.
I do have this on my playlist.
I was gonna say that's where it's at for me, but it's on the cusp, you know. And I feel like there's actually a handful of jams that I would say that about this year, and I think that's why I kind of have to separate them out, because it's different than just no jam of the year for you, pal. Like it feels like a different way to segment some of these jams out, if that makes sense. And I mean, yes. Green River's on that list too. I was joking. It's a nice look. But you know, and those are two of many. So yeah, really great jam here. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, just a little bit all over the place. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yep.
Neil?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a bunch of things to say about this. I promise I won't go too long, but
liar.
So yeah, what I like about this Meter Maid is one of those instances where Goose creates a song on the spot, and you leave yourself wondering, like, are they playing another song, or is this actually just a jam? And I love when that shit happens. You know, I've said it time and time again, but you know, Rick has this ability to grasp melody out of thin air. He does it here. He just finds a hook out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden, this is a jam. And what a gift, man, when you get these kind of jams that are hooks and they stay in your head. And I think a lot of people get really latched onto these types of things. And this Meter Maid is a good example of that. Really, really cool stuff. And yeah, you know, Mr. Action, it's the same every time, but it still rules. Rick's guitar playing is so good in this Mr. Action. So I don't want to brush over that. I definitely want to say that one piece. And then, of course, the salt, I think, is the centerpiece of this. You get Peter kind of doing spooky Halloween sounds, and then like he switches to piano, and then the piano is nuts. And the thing that I do want to point out, though, is this whole jam that's in here is the precursor of the Thatch jam that comes 2 nights later. And there's a lot of the same energy that comes in the last couple of minutes of Thatch inside of this salt. And I think there were ideas born inside of this jam. They were like, like we need to come back to this. And they absolutely do to great effect in the Thatch that comes a couple nights later.
Can I say something real quick, Neil, just to kind of build off what your analysis here is? You know, we've had opportunities a couple times to talk with members of the band who ostensibly say that they don't go back and don't re-listen to anything they've done. Yet we have like example after example of stuff that's happened like in a couple shows, and then it'll get built upon, if not entirely itself become its own song. So I'm interested, like, you know, as an out loud bookmarking exercise, like the next time we, you know, if we are fortunate enough to get one of these opportunities to interview one of the band members again, that we bring that up, like how does that get bookmarked as an idea or as a theme, and how do you sort of come back to that as a whole band?
My thought on how I think this works, and that's a good call out on this jam, Neil. I think it's to the question about did they listen back, or did someone listen back and hear something? Then I don't think that's how the spark kind of grows or returns. I think it's because they play music so much of it is so natural that if something stands out like that, if they find themselves anywhere near that territory again, it's a memory that comes back. I don't think it's like super planned or thought out. I think it's, oh yeah, this feels like that, and that felt really good, and this is what I did, and I'm going to do it again, and then we'll see where it goes this time.
Right. I agree with that. I think that makes a lot of sense.
You know, it's like the Led Zeppelin quote, like, no matter how I try, I find my way back to the same old jam. Like when you play music,
Ah,
you find a
yeah.
jam, and then that jam just keeps coming back to you. Like you sit there, and then like sometimes it's like really annoying. You pick up an instrument, and you're like, "Fuck, I'm playing that jam again," and like you like don't want to play it. I think in some ways these things just kind of find pathways in your brain where it's like, all right, here it is. This is the time to play it, and it just kind of comes out of you. And in this case, I think it's really fresh in their minds, and they probably walked off stage, maybe not even saying it to each other, but thinking to themselves, "Oh, that was sick." And then it's kind of stuck in their brains a little bit. The opportunity was there, and they took it.
Right.
Yeah. To wrap up the first set, just a final thought here. Many people don't know this, but torero is actually Spanish for bullfighter. So I just wanted to
Espanol.
bring I just wanted to bring that spark of culture to Always Almost There.
Thank you, Kev.
You're welcome. So set two
Hashtag-
starts.
Hashtag culture Kev.
So set two starts off with a set establishing Dr. Darkness into Dustin Hoffman. We get another big modern, Wisteria Lane, Echo of a Rose, and I'm reading the wrong set list.
No, you got
No,
the ending.
you are reading the right set list.
You're reading
Yeah,
the right set list. They're tying up all the unfinished songs from night one.
Oh,
This
that's
is-
right. That's
It's
right.
the Unfinished Business show. Yeah.
If only they had played two full big moderns.
Well, I'm glad. I'm not going to spoil this, but I'm glad they saved one of those for B.
Oh, what one of the endings? Yes. Then an Arcadia encore. This is
Don't
our
flood
first big Dustin Hoffman. Mexico one did not jam, and then we saw at the Chateau just a few days before tour started. Like, this is what this song is going to look like this summer. And this is our first one in front of an audience that really goes big.
Nod to Garrett, right? What was the birthplace of Dustin?
Oh yes, the 3522 Arcadia.
Now is a great time to talk about that. Not to pause on this show for a whole ton of time.
Speaking of coming back to a jam or
Yeah.
composing a song.
How about that?
That's why I brought it up, y'all.
Yes, thank you, Kev. Yeah, everyone go check out the 3522 Nashville Arcadia. The jam is just the Dustin Hoffman jam. And so, yeah, thank you, Garrett, for pointing that out a few weeks ago. Dr. Darkness is a weird choice to open set to. It's kind of low energy. I think, again, I subscribe to the belief that I love quick rocking opener into a big jam. And that's, I think, what they're trying to do here. This Dr. Darkness was an audible. Maybe they did it because this was the show also where they walked on stage. Rick was like, hang on, I forgot something, and ran backstage for a minute while the rest of the band started the Dr. Darkness intro. Don't know what he forgot, but they did Dr. Darkness here. I think something like a Hot Love works a lot better in this slot if you want to do this, because Hot Love has a little bit of energy to it. I feel like Dr. Darkness is just kind of like, has the more melancholy vibe. It doesn't set the tone as well. Luckily, the Dustin sets all the tone you need, and just beautiful, gorgeous major key jam here. First version of the song to go over 20 minutes, one of two on this tour. And wow, just a phenomenal build and peak here. That great minimalist funk, kind of that patch on the Roland synth that Peter uses early on here, I absolutely love. And the way that they transition into the bliss is beautiful. And then you get that big modern ending coming back. I think sometimes when they can shoehorn in an ending, which you see later in the set, it doesn't really feel right or smooth. I think the transition into this big modern ending, they take their time with it. Cotter deserves a lot of the credit for getting them from where they were, which is nowhere near the cadence as a drummer that you need to be in for the big modern ending, to getting them there without it feeling super jarring. So that's great. And then you get the birth of the Goose in this Wisteria. It doesn't totally click, but they're trying here. Peter's setting up these loops and the arpeggiator, and you get a taste before they kind of unceremoniously ripcord it into Echo. But and then a all too short Arcadia.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that Ryan does not approve of this Dr. Darkness opening this setup. I mean, I guess my stance is I just appreciate the band trying new things, and that's my.
Right.
I can be a company man too, and no. I totally agree with you
No, you
on the
can't.
Dr. Darkness. So yeah, the Dustin Hoffman is huge. I feel like it takes a minute to get there in the kind of the early midsection, but just such a triumphant last, I don't know, 5 minutes at least. Just super fist pumping, slapping the roof of the car, triumphant stuff. And yeah, so I was gonna say the same thing about this Wisteria. It's funny to listen back to it now, knowing what we know now about the Goons and how popular it's become with fans of all different kinds of bands, have all come out in full support, which is a beautiful thing to see. And so, yeah, it's funny. I think I was a little bit harsher on this Wisteria right after they played it. But maybe now there's a nostalgic angle to it, and I appreciate it a little bit more. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, just a couple things to add here. The Dustin Hoffman, I think, is cool. Dustin Hoffman has yet to realize its full potential. This is one of the longer versions that they played this year. Not the longest, maybe it is. It is the longest. I think this one is the longest. No, I'm sorry. They play a longer version a little bit after this. But in any case, you get a little bit of the TED jamming here, which I will continue to use. Somebody else coined that phrase, and I love it because it fits here. You get a little bit of Peter doing synth soloing throughout this, which I think is always awesome when he does that. I'm a big fan of that. Um, Otherwise, yeah, finish Big Modern, great. Unfinished Business, get that in there. I mean, why not? If you're going to have an unfinished Big Modern, you might as well finish it somewhere. Love how they do that here. This Wisteria Lane is fascinating because at the time it was heartbreaking because we were like, this could have done so many things. And it's still heartbreaking. Looking back, I
Absolutely.
wish they had run with this. I think they didn't know what the hell to do with it. It was like right in their hands and they were like, holy shit. Like, what do we do now? And then they're just like, no, we're out. But
they weren't ready for the Goons yet.
No, it doesn't seem like they were ready for the Goons.
It scared
But
them.
the one thing I want to mention here that which nobody has mentioned yet, there is a heavy Smooth Criminal jam in here, and there is like a Michael Jackson undertone to a lot of jams that show up in this tour. There are a couple more as we go on. Actually, nothing
And
in this first
separate
half.
music. I wonder
Yeah,
if like they were listening to a lot of MJ.
MJ's kind of sick. Trevor is definitely listening to a lot of MJ. It shows up a lot in his playing, aside from the channeling Mike Gordon thing. So they go from Smooth Criminal, they fall off the psychedelic cliff and land into the Goons. Everything about this jam is what I like about improvisational music. It goes in a couple different directions. All of them work. And the only bad thing about it is they end maybe about 5 minutes too early. And now's a good time to talk about what is exciting about the Goons. It doesn't do much improvisationally, but it really amplifies the energy of the show. I think it does this here. I think people were really stoked on it, and they were like, well, give me more, and they kind of walk away. Of course, the Goons wasn't born here. It was born in Mexico with Fast Slow. But
sure.
This is the beginning of it on this tour.
It was born in Louisiana, sir.
Born in Louisiana.
At the team.
Oh yeah, fair with the Crumpets. Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think it's fair. And I have
that's when the I don't
the Crumpets.
Yeah.
I have this theory that Fast Slow was written for that, and like Brownie was like, "Nah, I'm not going to learn that. I already know Slow Ready," and like they just kind of like did Slow Ready instead. But yeah, so I mean, we should ask Brownie that question. Just get him on. Just ask him that one question and like have like a 45-minute episode. Yeah.
If people didn't know and they want to hear more about the Crumpets show, we did interview Brownie just before summer tour started towards the end of May. Go check that one out. It's basically him talking for a full hour, and it's incredible.
But stay here and finish listening to this one first before.
Well, Kev, they can listen to this in as many chunks as they want. So if they want to take a break and go listen to the Brownie pod in the middle, they can.
That's fair, Ryan.
Well within people's rights. Don't.
Yeah. So before we move on, like just to like kind of wrap up my thoughts here on the Goons. This is a theme of this tour. It is a big thing. It is a new jamming style. I don't know if it's deep improv, and certainly not. Actually, there are moments where it kind of shows up as that. I think actually here is a good example of where it could have gone much deeper. But this is a thing we're going to talk about a lot. And so what is the Goons? We should define it instead of referring to it constantly. But it is, an EDM style of jamming. I don't know how else to describe it. Cotter has a particular drum beat that it tends to go underneath. Peter tends to do some kind of loops on the synth, and that's it. That's the Goose. And it all is reminiscent of some other bands that we've heard. And the
great.
result is Dance Party.
Yes. Get down.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone have anything else to add on this show, or should we?
The Goons is just good, clean fun, and you should dance and enjoy yourself at a show.
I don't know about clean. It's kind of dirty.
Well,
It's kinda
it's person dependent.
I think it's
That's fair.
like, yeah. I mean,
Depends on how
I
you
think
do
a
it.
lot of it is heavy and dark.
Yeah. And especially as we get into the second half of the tour. But yeah.
The Evil Goons, I mean, it's evolving, and we're going to continue to talk about it. This is the genesis of it on this tour. Excellent stuff. We're
There we
stoked to
go.
have it.
Take us
All
to
right.
Bend.
Let's go.
Bend, Oregon, future home of Rick Materatanda, if you believe what he said during this show. And I don't blame him, because that place is sick. I've never been, but man, the pictures are something else.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So we get a Your Direction opener with a really nice ease in. And I want to highlight the fact that there is a little jam leading into this Your Direction. Like, it's not really the song. This is an extension of what we were getting in Mexico, where they're doing this kind of interlude before songs. And this is a thing that comes up. There's going to be a controversial one later on down the road that people are talking about. So I want to highlight this now, that this is a thing that happened in Bend. It's not just a thing that happens later on down the road. I'm not going to give it away, but we'll talk about it in the next episode. Then we get No California, Turbulence in the Night Rays, Silver Rising. So there's your 3-pack to some degree or another. Then you get fairly standard versions of Rockdale and Hunger Site. And then, weirdly, this is the last Give It Time that you get for a while, I think.
Yeah.
And like that's really important to note, because this is their big hit. This is the one, they should be playing this every second or third show, and they choose not to do that. This is where they kind of end the road. I think that's the most notable thing about this set, is this is the last one that you hear for a while. So not much to add here. I mean, this is a lot of hits. This is weirdly a festival set in a first set.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting for sure. So this is the last Give It Time until Indy, just to put a number on it. That's 2 weeks without this song, which is weird. I think that there are a couple songs from this show that are on the album that then don't show up for a conspicuously long amount of time. One of those we'll talk about in set 2. But this is a good set. There's nothing you can complain about here. There's some solid jamming in the Rockdale and the Hunger Site for sure. Like, Rockdale kind of gets out there for a few minutes. But there's also nothing to write home about. And I mean, that's fine. It's a first set. This is a, early show. The sun's out. Great Pacific Northwest crowd, more people than I expected at this show. But yeah, nothing crazy in this set. I think the most notable thing, as you said, Neil, is that this is the last Give It Time for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think this is where we kind of settle into that sort of new formulaic Goose atmosphere here, where we get this sing-songy, first set that's absolutely perfectly executed. Their hits very well played. I think they did a great job with all of it. I hope Ilse Juber's mom is enthusiastically happy for her daughter.
Yeah.
Because there ain't no California without you. That's all I got.
Yeah, I'm just
Tattoo?
here for Thatch.
Jive? You're just here for that. Why
Aren't
don't you
we
kick us off?
all?
Why don't you kick us off? Why don't you go with that?
Well,
you
read the
ready
set
to
list
do?
here, Neil.
Oh yeah, well fine.
For the
I'll read
people.
the set list.
Yeah.
So then you get an extended Thatch to open off the set, which we love. We love that. Then Feel It Now as a kind of disco dance party break in between that and what is an extended 22 or so minute cool down of Travelers and Elmeg that takes you on, an idyllic journey through, that whole suite. Yeah. And then, as a way of saying, like, okay, we kind of chilled you all out during the second set. And like, so now we're going to do Don't Leave Me This Way. And then we're going to encore that Shit Hot Tea, which I think is actually the appropriate arc to the set if you're going to play Travelers and Elmeg in it. And I think, zooming out a little bit, I like the way this flows. I've complained in the past about Travelers and Elmeg appearing in the second set, saying that it can take away from the vibe. But I think you're in this truly beautiful setting. Ryan, you were there. You can speak to that if you want to. But sounded pretty dope to me. I mean, Rick obviously liked it. And so they really wanted to do this song there. And I think, the scenery inspired them. And, this is the way you do it. You do like a big jam, 28-ish minute jam, I think
27.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, 27.
Longest Thatch ever.
Cool. And then, Feel It Now, I think was appropriate. Then Traveler's Elmeg, Don't Leave Me This Way, Disco Dance Party. I mean, like, I love the way this set flows. This is the way that you do it and get away with it. Otherwise, you kind of leave it feeling like, they shouldn't have done that here. But I do want to talk about the stats before I hand it off to you guys. I mean, there are layers to this jam that I really, really like. I mean, Trevor here lays down this kind of plodding bass line, and you have Rick kind of doing this really exploratory guitar playing with Peter kind of complementing that from underneath. It goes to almost nothing. Rick starts with a whole brand new idea with a little bit of like a finger picking style. And then Peter switches to, and like, I don't know, Ryan, you might disagree with this, but I think I heard rarely the vintage vibe on this tour. At least to like to like notable sections. And then this actually shows up in this jam, and it's just right with just what Rick is playing with his finger picking style. Then Peter plays that vintage vibe, and it's so good. But Trevor's like, nah, like we're going back to the thing. And then he goes right back to like yet another plodding bass line. And then Rick is like, yep, that's where I want to go. And then it kind of builds up again. And then I think for a minute there, at least to my ear, it sounds like the whole band is playing one in, one out. And then Cotter kind of responds to Rick's like percussive playing, and then kind of starts doing like the whole Cotter dynamics thing. Peter hops on the synth, and then all of a sudden the whole thing takes off. And then you land in the Salt Jam from the other night, and then that's where the whole thing explodes and sounds absolutely incredible. Really, really amazing jam, and love the way that this thing turned out. Actually, out of all the jams that we're going to talk about on this, what is this? We're doing 10, 11, 12 episodes or 12 shows on this. Yeah. I think this is my favorite jam of all of them. And this is like the most classic kind of Goose jam out of everything that we're going to talk about today. And it's sick. It's really, really good stuff. I implore you to go listen to it. This is one of my faves. Yeah.
This is my number one jam right now of the year.
Of the year.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go. I think I shared that.
Look at this guy.
There's at least three. There's at least three distinct jams here that and they're all amazing. The first funk jam is so slick and smooth, and it just what an amazing version of this song, like front to back, and that's why this is a top jam, because it's even in spite of it being 28 minutes long, it has incredibly high re-listenability. There's zero bore factor at any point. There's no minute second mark to fast forward to get to the good stuff. You start at the beginning, you enjoy a great song, and then you sit with this entire jam, and it's amazing every time. So yeah, number one jam of the year.
I love it. I mean, this is also my favorite kind of jam. You guys know I am a multi-section jam kind of guy. This is my thing. When they explore an idea and then move on to the next one, and then move on to the next one, and then move on to the next one, and it's all really great. As you said, B, there's no downtime in this jam. And what I want to highlight also is, again, Trevor being in that leadership role. When they get to that dark, thrashy part at the end, first of all, Cotter making the double time shift and then knowing exactly when to fall back into halftime from there is spectacular. And then when they hit back into Thatch, that Trevor is still doing that little like the bam, 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 that descending progression from the kind of evil part is just so good. It like makes it. It's like the cherry on top when they've already re-entered and it's just Thatch again. Like it's like, yeah, remember what we were just doing. So yeah, I don't necessarily agree with you that it's jam of the year, but I can't fault you for having it at number one. This is not a jam that you can put at the top of your playlist and I can be like, is it? I think at that point it's in the tier 1
That's one of the
category
nicest
where
things
it's
you've ever
up to
said
personal
about my
preference.
playlist.
I just speaking of Jive's playlist, I just want to highlight the fact that I preemptively agreed with Jive Goose because we all agree on everything. And I just wanted to throw that piece out there. Jive, I don't think you've said, at least to me, that this was this high on your playlist.
Yeah,
And
I
I
don't think you
definitely
have.
don't disagree with you. It's good stuff.
I'll send the receipts in chat
Kev,
later.
anything to add on this? Please do.
Okay.
Please do.
Yeah, I don't, because I took a break to go to the bathroom, so I missed the discourse on whatever song it is that you're talking about. But
We're talking
we're
about
on the
Thatch.
set too.
Yeah.
The Ben Thatch.
Yeah,
Kev,
I assume so, because that's the meat of that second set there. This, I love it. I'd be lying if I said I go back to this one over one that gets played a little later in tour.
Okay.
Ooh,
fair.
that's spicy.
Right.
And
Okay.
I don't know if I disagree with that either. Yeah, that's
Listen,
good stuff.
I get it. But I do actually, before we move on, Neil, I want to mention your point about the Autumn Crossing here. I agree that in hindsight, it works well in this set. In the moment, I think after the momentum that they had coming from that Thatch into the Feel It Now, which I feel like is always great as kind of a bridge between two big jams, I was kind of hoping that they would, give us something else in the way of improvisation, because I think Goose does really well when they're running hot off a big jam like that. I think they can usually, it's not like they can usually come up with another one, but they're usually inspired in whatever song comes next. And so I think that we lost that a little bit by not having any more jamming in the rest of the set. But I do want to shout out friend of the pod, Shawnee Mack, for getting his first Autumn Crossing here as Traveler's Elmeg that he had been chasing for a very, very long time. Shout out to him there. Don't Leave Me This Way rules. I think every time they've played it, except for the New Year's countdown, it has absolutely hit in whatever slot it was in. And it's great. So let's move on to Spokane here, up to Spokane, Washington, Spokane Pavilion. This is a really weird show, not particularly great, but a really weird show. So you open up Drive, All I Need, How It Ends, Doc Brown, Seekers, Masquinada, and Animal. So this first set starts with this 3-song segment of Drive, All I Need, How It Ends. Drive and All I Need, both just over 10 minutes, and great, and like phenomenal segues from each song, from Drive to All I Need and All I Need to How It Ends. This also continues the string of unfinished All I Needs. We have not seen a finished version of this song since fall 2024, interestingly enough to note. But I can't help but feel like that they went for the segue rather than explore the jamming themes, because both this Drive and this All I Need get somewhere really good really quickly. But then they dip out. Seekers in the first set is fine. This Masquinada, I would recommend that you listen to if you haven't yet. This is a really cool, just like frenzied jam. And then you get a 19-minute Animal, which does the 2025 Animal thing of really great, major key, emotive soloing from Rick. But at that point, you're like, of all the songs in this set, why is it Animal that goes for 19 minutes? And at that point, you're also taking away, like you can look ahead and you can see curfews approaching. You're taking away from the second set at that point. So while this set is not necessarily bad, it's weird. And the kind of choices that they're making are weird, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, it was an interesting first set for sure. Jive, if I could ask you a question real quick, the Mice Canada, when you were set listing back in the day, who did you credit as a cover? Was
Jorge
it Jorge
Ben.
Ben or Sergio Mendez? Yeah.
Really?
Original artist.
Interesting.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm gonna say something here that I don't think I've ever said before. The highlight of this set is Animal.
Yeah.
This is a pretty good Animal. This is a good jam. This is to your point, doesn't do anything spectacular maybe, but in terms of these kind of blissful versions that we've been seeing, this probably is the best one. And yeah, this is a really strong Animal and highlight of the set.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
man.
set, oh,
Old reliable Animal. I mean, they pull this one out a bunch on this tour, and it always does the same exact thing, which is it's good. And you know what you're getting when you get it. You get an extended jam in this. The jam is always satisfying. And I mean, that's what you have to say about that. And then, of course, I just want to underscore what Ryan already said, which is the segues that come from Drive into All I Need and All I Need into How It Ends are remarkable. So again, pointing back to what I said at the start of this show, this is a thing that they were definitely focused on. They definitely talked about this. They definitely practiced this to some degree or another. I refuse to believe this happened organically. All of these incredible segues. I think what comes at the expense of that is you walk away from a Drive jam that felt really good, and you walk away from an All I Need jam that felt really good. I think that All I Need jam that they walked away from actually pops back right up again in Westville. And then actually
yeah,
gets
good call.
extended and done to great effect. But I love what they did with it. Like How It Ends is such a vibe, and the vibe that they had going in All I Need just perfectly dovetailed into that, and that's cool.
And
So
that's why it's a weird show, because on paper it looks really weird. When you look at the
yeah,
timestamps, it looks bad. But you get
yes,
moments like that where it's like it was a ripcord, but the vibe flowed.
it called for it.
Yeah.
It needed to happen in that moment. It felt perfectly right, except at the expense of extended jams, which I think makes us frown
Yeah.
as people who frown when that kind of thing
And I
happens.
think, again, back
Yeah.
to my point, like, it's the fact that Animal was 19 minutes, but Drive and All I Need were both 11.
That's where we're at, man.
It can't be the
I
same
think,
all
I
the
think
time.
that's the thing.
You know what
But
I mean? It's gotta.
Yeah.
regardless, correct. And I
Yeah.
mean, Animal is
Is
going
it
19 minutes a lot these days. So,
16?
17 to 19, I think is the norm.
17
Anyway, set 2 here. We get Arrow, Hollywood Nights, Arrow, Everything Must Go, Redbird, Trevor Reed's Poetry, and Moby Dick. Everything Must Go is another song this tour that was not played nearly as much, I think, as we thought it was going to get played. It gets played 4 times on this tour, one of which was at the Racket Show where they, played the whole album pretty much. And so I think it was weird also because after February, we talked about in Mexico, and I've talked about a lot how I don't like that they're doing the album arrangement live with all the backing tracks and stuff, because I think they're focused more on that than what they did in Grand Rapids and what they did in Milwaukee with those 2 absolutely phenomenal versions of the song, which they haven't really come close to this summer. So you can't help but feel like something is missing.
They're tinkering. They're tinkering with the song structure, though, and who knows what gets born out of that.
Yeah, for sure. But my point is, like, things have happened in the past with this song where there have been so many incredible jams out of Everything Must Go, and so it feels like that's been missing this summer. Arrow, Hollywood Nights, Arrow, high energy, but I think again with the amount of time they had left, using 30 minutes or 25 minutes of the set on this, while lots of fun, not necessarily needed. And then Peter gets electrocuted during Redbird.
Oh God, yeah.
By his Vintage Vibe, which then is kind of out of commission for a few days while Will was working on fixing it. You got Spokane Word again, after Redbird gets bailed on. This is similar to the Westville Madavon, where it's like they played this to give people Fantasy Goose points, and then that was the only reason. Obviously it's not true. They weren't like, hey, let's play Redbird to give people Fantasy Goose points. But like, that's my point, is that's the only purpose that it serves in this show.
People like hearing the song, Ryan.
Yeah, but I like hearing it. And then we get the highlight of this show for me, which is this Moby Dick, John Bonham's birthday. Cotter getting to do Led Zeppelin on stage with Goose. This rips. I have listened to this a lot. It's fantastic. Shout out to Peter for nailing all the guitar lead parts in this song. But man, watching, if you haven't watched the video, go watch the video. Watching the way that Rick and Peter watch Cotter during his drum solo, it warms the heart. It's fantastic. And you get a tumble encore. But yeah, that's.
I don't know that I'm as down on this set as maybe some. I am a big Hollywood Nights guy.
You're a big Hollywood Nights guy.
And
Yeah.
I like the Arrow Seeger. And I think to your point, I think they knew how they wanted to end the set. So they were counting backwards, at about the midway point. And obviously that impacted the bird and maybe the Everything Must Go as well. This is a good Everything Must Go. So this is one of those micro jam versions.
It's on the Goose 101 playlist on Nug.
It's sick.
Yeah, and then you said everything about the Moby Dick. That was really cool to see. And this is, you said, Neil, that there's a fun factor, and I was assuming that this is one of the shows that popped into my head when you said that. But yeah, I actually kind of like this set. I mean, I don't think the Arrow Jam is anything that's going to make a playlist. But yeah, you get a Hollywood Nights. I mean, and Trevor reading.
Yeah, Jive and I. Trevor reads poetry. Jive and I agree on everything. This Everything Must Go is the best Everything Must Go that they play this whole entire summer tour, the Everything Must Go summer tour. So
I think
if you want to go back and look at the flagship version of this
but...
song, I disagree. This one is filled with tension. It is anxiety inducing. It's so good. Like you're like chewing your fingernails, and it's just like it's like listening to
this pod. Yeah.
But so I have a question. Kev, B, dads, Ryan, you're the target audience. Have you all seen the Lego movie?
Yes.
Okay. So you've seen the Lego movie. So throughout the Lego movie, there's the Lego astronaut who is just like being like, "You want me to build a spaceship? I'll build a spaceship."
And they're like, "No."
This is, and they're like, no. And then finally at the end, they're like, "Build us a spaceship," and he's like, "Spaceship!" And then he builds a spaceship. That's fucking Moby Dick in this show. That's exactly what that is in this show. Yep. Like Cotter's been saying it forever, and they're like, he's just like, let me play it. Let me
when
play
he got
it.
Cashmere,
like, tonight.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited for the Cotter Ellis side project, Cotter's Almost Zeppelin, which Ryan.
It's called Nico Suave and the Mothership.
So Ryan will be writing. He'll be writing extensively Storm Sound Promotions.
Well, it is Nico Suave and the Mothership exists. Cotter was literally off tour for 2 days after Westville before he had a Nico Suave gig. Like
spreading the Zepp.
Yeah. So in any case,
the lead out, bro.
I hope somebody photoshops like a Lego spaceman helmet on top of Cotter, and then screaming spaceship or something to that effect. Because that's exactly what this is. That's exactly what this is. I love it.
He'd wear it.
Cotter in a Lego space helmet riding a big white whale.
Somebody get him that.
with a polished silver,
I was gonna say like, maybe a tight
new slap
women's spacesuit.
Do we need? I was gonna say, do we need to take a break? I'm getting warm over here.
All right. Anything else to talk about Spokane, or can we?
No, we should definitely move on from Spokane.
The really long jam that happened at the next show.
Boise.
I don't know. It's productive.
All right.
June 1st.
Boise.
June 1st.
Boise.
Who's Boise?
Outlaw Field. Boise.
This was a prison, by the way.
Yeah.
That's why it's called Outlaw Field.
Thanks for that, Ryan.
No problem.
Great prison, by the way. Set 1. Pancakes opener. California Magic. Hot Love and the Lazy Poet. Lead up. My Mind Has Been Consumed by Media. A Western Sun. Interlude 2. Jive 1. Yeti. Pumped Up Kicks. Yeti.
Holy songs, Batman.
That's a first set if I've ever seen one.
So, if you like stats, can I say one thing? Sorry, before you dive into this, Jive. This is an 11-track first set. It is the most tracks in a first set ever in a 2-set show. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Individual tracks?
He's
or
including
does that include the sandwich?
Yeti twice.
Includes the sandwich.
Okay. Yeah.
Speaking of that, does lgoose.net still do that to your stats? Will it say, "Oh, you saw Yeti twice"?
If you're on the overview page, Yeah, if you're on the overview page, it counts the duplicates. But if you
Okay,
go
so
into
that
all
bug is
songs,
still
it will
just
show
sitting in the
you
backlog.
deduped.
Okay.
It's there. It's there. This is another weird tune from the album that is on the shelf for a long time. So I didn't mention also after Bend, Feel It Now doesn't get played again until MSG, which is strange. California Magic doesn't get played from here until New Hampshire, which, I mean, again, not complaining because but like, it's weird because historically Goose will lean into a song like that, especially when it's on the album that they're touring to promote.
Do you have do you have that stat on Lead Up too? Because it feels like that song was somewhat neglected on this first part of Summer Tour.
That's a good point. This is our last one until Wilmington, which is 9 shows. It's not too bad, but Lead Up has historically been on like a 5 or 6 show rotation. So, but also feels weird again for album songs. So I think that's also a trend here where there are certain songs that they're playing a lot, and it's not necessarily the stuff on the album, which I think is a nice change from expectation. I think that's also part of why there was a lot of lower scoring Fantasy Goose shows.
Just real quick, do you guys remember early 2020 when the online discourse was all about like, man, I don't know if these guys have a deep enough song catalog to keep this going? And now it's just, we're talking about these song gaps and really good songs that are being, put on hiatus for whatever reason to keep all of these other songs in rotation. And it's just an embarrassment of riches right now.
I remember.
And I think the only other
people
thing
saying that, and I remember responding to them with hard facts. And Goose,
Jive Goose loves.
We'd have to go back and look at the numbers, but Goose had a pretty healthy catalog in 2020. Yeah. It's
when they were saying those things.
It's so strong. I mean, that's a whole other topic that we're not going to get into today. But this catalog is, continues to get stronger and stronger. And you look at the new batch of songs that have debuted this year, and I mean, it's, the slugging percentage, I guess I would say, is really high on, new song debuts. There hasn't been a stinker in a while.
100%. Yeah. It's been a while. And hey, Jive Goose 2020 stats makes me think of something here.
Oh.
That's a very appropriate for dropping 2020 knowledge, I feel like. The thing that I want to call out in this set is my mind has been consumed by media coming back, just under 30 shows. The rework, and I forget who it was who said this first, but it was the perfect analogy. Before it was a Devo song, now it's a Talking Heads song.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Was that you, Neil?
That was me. Yeah,
well,
that was me on the day after show.
Fuck that then. Yeah, I disagree then.
This is the longest version of this song that they've played. It's in just under 8 minutes, I want to say. And it's cool when they stretch it out. I mean, you can have your opinions about my mind has been consumed by media. I like the vibe of the song. I don't know if necessarily this is an excellent piece of songwriting or anything like that, but I love it. Love the way it works here. I love actually what happens with us later on in the tour. It's a vibe. I love the Devo vibe. I've always loved the Devo vibe, but the more Talking Heads vibe is pretty sick. And then in this particular version, actually, this is a good moment to pause and say, like, Rick was in a special mood at this show. He had braids in his hair. There were all kinds of things. He's wearing a choker. Rick was stepping outside of himself, which we know he tries to do on occasion.
Well,
and
then we saw the vlog.
Does that when he puts on a persona, he becomes a different person. I think he does become a different player in this show. And the guitar solo that comes at the end of this is totally unhinged, and I absolutely love the way that this sounds. It is a really, really cool guitar solo. It is atypically Rick. It doesn't make any goddamn sense when you listen to it and you're like, wait a second, that is Rick? Because he's never really done anything like it. I mean, he's done stuff like it, but this is very different than the norm. That is the standout thing in this set, is that my mind has been consumed by media. And then, we're talking about this catalog and it's so big and expansive. So of course they have to shoehorn in Yeti Pumped Up Kicks Yeti at the end of this set.
Too many of those on this tour.
God damn it.
They really need to, honestly, I genuinely believe that Pumped Up Kicks needs to go back on the shelf. Like Yeti is great on its own.
Yeti's good on its own. Yeah.
Like it feels like they're just shoehorning it in and
All right.
Anyway,
set
let's talk about set 2.
Madhavan opener Rosewood Heart, Electric Avenue, Madhavan, Encore, Same Old Shenanigans. So I think it's really going to be all about the Rosewood here. It's very long, um, and
Very.
it has its moments. I don't think that anyone can say that this just sucks, right? It has its moments, but
No,
I don't know who would
but
say something like that.
it's just
I
really
think I did
long,
earlier today. But
and I think that tends to happen in most of the jams that go this long. That go. I think we talked about the long thatch a few minutes ago. That's 28 minutes or so, and how that's such an amazing feat because, like we were saying, it's an exciting, enthralling 28 minutes. And then so this is the other end of the spectrum now is the danger, or not the danger, but I guess maybe the downside of improvisational music to this degree, if you're really going to go out there and take something 35, 40 minutes, then yeah, that means you're probably going to explore some different things. Maybe you sit in something for a while. And so I think the risk grows that curmudgeons like us are going to have a poor attitude when we listen to it back. So kudos to the like we were saying earlier. I mean, we love that the band goes out on a limb and takes risks and tries things and all that. Absolutely love that. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I wouldn't say that this completely doesn't work, but I just think that for me, this is a jam that I'm not really going to go back and listen to over and over because it doesn't really hold my interest for that length of time.
And Ryan, just 20 seconds to jump in front of you here. To quote you, you said Boise Rosewood is not a bad jam. And then, of course, Neil says, laugh my ass off. Yes, it is.
I love that. I love that you're reading chat receipts on the pod. This is good. Hold Neil accountable.
I was stirring the pot, but like I have thoughts. But Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, I think to me, B, you illustrated it perfectly, the difference between this thatch and this Rosewood. But I think the thatch has no boring moments and it's a multi-section jam. So over 28 minutes, you're getting 3, 4, 5 different sections to it. This Rosewood has 2 sections, and the second section is 25 minutes long, pretty much. I think that it does one thing for a really long time. And as you said, B, I commend the band for taking the chance and playing a jam for this long. This is the second longest jam that they've ever played. The Seattle Echo from 4:22:23 being the only longer one at 45 minutes. This is just a shade over 39 minutes. So it is the longest Rosewood ever, eclipsing Royal Oak. And I like what they're doing here. I think there's a lot of really cool momentum behind this long form build, but it just kind of does one thing for a really long time. And I think this is a jam also where it's kind of enhanced when you watch the video. Because as you said, Neil, like Rick was in a mood at this show. And so watching him in the stance that he's in and the kind of like the fuck yeah, what he's doing in this jam, it makes it a little bit cooler. But
Rick Gaines.
Yeah, I think this is a good jam to, Neil, I don't know if you've run to this jam yet, but I feel like this would be a good jam to run to.
Maybe. I mean, so I've got a lot of thoughts on this. Ryan,
if I were a runner.
To highlight a point that you made earlier when you were saying when the band really is jamming well, you really want to hear them play another song after where they kind of continue that jam. Mm-hmm. That's this Electric Avenue. This Electric Avenue is actually really sick. And, you can hate the song if you want, but where this thing gets to in a really short period of time is amazing. And I was jokingly saying that this jam was not very good.
Jokingly, yes.
I was trying to get a rise out of you guys. I mean, we're going to get to Fiddler soon, and I hope you let me have it there. But the one thing I will say about it is this: there is approximately 20 minutes of this that feel like you're waiting for something to happen, and to that end, like that's not good necessarily. It's not something you want to go back to, like Jive said. But the one thing that I did notice in this is improvisational music is definitely teamwork, right? and there's a lot of Rick urging everybody on in this. So you get a lot of like Rick guitar heroics throughout. And that part is cool. Like if you want to just listen to Rick rip, this is a good one to put on and just kind of go and do it. But I just don't think the rest of the band had it that night necessarily. But Rick had it. I think Rick really had it. And then you listen to the last 7, 8, maybe 9, 10 minutes of this jam, and Rick really has it. I mean, this finishes really, really strong. So this ends up on my playlist, not because of the jam is long, but because of the exploration that happens at the end where they're really, truly ripping as a full unit. But there is a good stretch of this where they're not doing that. And that's where it kind of loses points for me. And so these jams are tricky, but I think they're encouraging because when a band takes a moment in a show like this and just leans in and says, hey, we're going to let whatever happens happen, that's cool. I want them to do this more. So like, I'm not going to complain about this jam and say that it's a bad jam. It's certainly not a bad jam. Finishes very strong. But the fact that they're leaning in and they're just saying like, we don't care what happens. We're just going to do this thing. I wish they did this 2 or 3 or maybe 4 times a tour just to see what results. And yeah, so I mean, that's what this whole thing is. It's, it's pretty good. And we can't walk away from the show without talking about the Electric Avenue that follows, which I think is very, very good. And I think the Madhavan that closes this out is also very, very good. They revisit that, and it's, I mean, as far as Madhavan outros go, one of the better ones I've heard in a while. It's really fiery, really good. I mean, Rick's playing is nuts. There are no flubs. He hits a zillion notes, and it all lands. So the way this set closes out is actually, it's great. I like the set as a whole. It is a pretty awesome set, while it contains this jam that does have a lot of dead space in it.
Yeah. So June 3rd, 2025, we traveled down to or out to Brooklyn Bowl, Las Vegas, in lovely Las Vegas, Nevada.
Fabulous.
Great city.
Las Vegas.
Great city. Great city. We open up our set with Salt into Iguana Song. And then we get the Devo tune, Whip It, into Your Ocean, Draconian Meter Maid. In OMB, the old man's boat reappears out of nowhere. Atlas Dogs, and then we close the set with a pretty thick Big Modern.
Groovy, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, Iguana continues to expand. I think every play this tour, I think maybe Westville being the exception, like it didn't go too far beyond CMAC, but I think every play this tour, it kind of does a little bit more, gets a little bit longer. And this continues to happen here. It's not going outside of Iguana Song yet, but they're really taking their time. And again, that dynamic shift that Cotter does pretty much the whole summer tour, where he just takes things way down and then just patiently builds it up. Neil, that's the thing you were talking about for a lot of 2024, that brick by brick kind of building up thing that he does, but he's able to do that to much more extremes now, I think, on the quiet side, which is fantastic. Otherwise, I think this is a very good set. You get another Blissey Meter Maid. I don't really have complaints about this set. And then another huge modern, just like pure energy throughout. This is my favorite big modern of the tour. I am sad that I was not in attendance for it.
What happened, man? You said you were going to go.
There was never a point where I said I was going to Vegas.
Shit.
I wish I had. I kind of wish I had done Vegas, but I did not. But I like this set a lot. Salt is a phenomenal opener.
Salt is a phenomenal opener. I like to think of it as Goose's Buried Alive, but like more dynamic.
And
I don't know.
More of a jam vehicle.
It's got that vibe, and it's more of a jam vehicle. Yes, you corrected me on the day after show when I said this, but
yeah,
longer than 3 minutes. Also,
and
has,
longer than
that going
3
for
minutes.
it. Otherwise,
it's a lot of caveats.
Otherwise,
it has energy.
It has that energy. That's my point. Thank you for saying my thought. Otherwise, I don't know what to make of this set. I mean, Whip It. I love Whip It in a Goose set. They can always do that. It'll be fine. Although it's weird to do like Salt, Iguana, Whip It, and then in between songs, Rick is like, "Fuck it, am I right?" And then they play Your Ocean.
But they love to do shit like that. And I always
Yeah.
think back to London Night 2, where they're like, we're gonna go super hard tonight, and then they open with Dr. Darkness.
Yeah.
And
So
that's not the vibe that you think it is.
big gaps in this show. So Old Man's Boat or Your Ocean had been 18 shows, I think. Old Man's Boat had been 32 shows. Ryan might correct me by one. I will disagree with him on this
19
podcast.
on Your Ocean.
Yeah.
And
31.
32 on Old Man's Boat. You were
Oh,
right
yeah,
about
so
that one, Neil.
My math was wrong. So 31 and 18. So how about that? Otherwise, not much to write home about.
Big Modern, bro.
No.
This is like they finished it here. It's exciting. Can we? I'm gonna backtrack my big point that I've been making for a long time, that jams are okay to be unfinished. This is the only finished Big Modern of Summer Tour, and that makes me sad. This one also ends the streak. We had every version of Big Modern through this Vegas version in 2025 was longer than 20 minutes. And then after that, they were not. Yeah, finish Big Modern. Other songs can be left unfinished, but like the ending of Big Modern is just so good. Let me finish it if it makes sense, but Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Big Modern has
It
earned,
has,
like
for me.
It's happening whether you like it or not, Jive. It's
Big Modern or bust.
It's been happening during this whole pod.
Yeah. I think his point is there's another song that yearns to be finished, and Big Modern is not the one that we should be talking about.
Well, we'll get there.
It was wild, actually, like in the building for this first set, getting Salt and Iguana Song. We're like, fuck yeah, man, this is going to be a great show. And then, it's a fun song, but dropping Whip It on us, we were like,
I mean, it's still a fun show.
Yeah.
What the hell's
Sam
going on?
King. Sam King's favorite song.
Yeah. I mean, that's the important thing to note about this. Like, this is Sam's favorite song.
Yeah.
And we all love Sam King. She's the best.
It's, I am merely, so my commentary on the Devo Whip It was not in any way to malign Sam King, her character, or her generosity to the band, just merely like questioning the flow of it during the rest of the crowd being like, Salt, Iguana, what are we going to get next? So yeah, I mean, party vibes.
And this is part of also what we saw in the vlog, where they were backstage before this show, like listening to Whip It, and like Sam's like, get on stage, and Peter's like, it's your favorite song, like,
That's really good, actually.
Yeah.
That whole vlog thing.
I really hope they release the rest of the vlogs on YouTube, because I think we only have the first week or first 2 weeks on YouTube right now, and there's some really good stuff from the rest of the tour. I have a few screenshots of choice moments, like Naveed on the Bonnaroo cancellation day. There was some shit going on. But yeah, I hope we have the opportunity to see all of these vlogs. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the last week of those. But those are my vlog comments. Kev, why don't you take us into this excellent second set here?
Oh man, let's get into the second set. We open with Into the Mist. Man, really upset, like unfinished, world ending, like just
I know
disappointment. So we're not
this one hurt the most,
and we're not going to say anything else about that as we get into Dustin Hoffman, and then we get a couple out of the Jive Suite, Jive 2, Jive Lee, Bob Don, and what's become an absolute wonderful cover for these guys, Oingo Boingo, right? You spin me right round, like a record player.
Dead or Alive.
Right round, round, round.
No, the band is Dead or Alive.
Yeah,
which
rock and roll.
Oingo Boingo.
Love it.
And then a Love Light encore, because they had no curfew, but they wanted to play Love Light.
The Goat Love Light, by the way. This is the best
Love Light.
This is
the Goat Love Light.
This is what happens when this is the only time they play Love Light, when they have more than 5.5 minutes to go until curfew.
Shit got dark. I mean, I don't know what happened backstage in the encore break. If this is the one thing we talk about in the show, is this this Love Light.
Nothing else happened in the second set, not the Goat Dustin Hoffman or anything.
Is that the Goat Dustin Hoffman?
Fiddlers might be better.
I don't,
Fiddlers might
dude.
be
See,
better, but
like I have to like say this, like
it's really good.
Dustin Hoffman, I can't differentiate versions. Big Modern, I can't differentiate versions. They're all good. None of them really blow my mind.
So I think you need to do another Dustin listen through all of them, because Big Modern does do a similar thing in a lot of the versions. Dustin has done pretty different things from version to version. Like this one is not like the Masonic, and this was the point that I made on the day after show. I think they approached Peter, especially. They approached that initial funk jam with a different instrument or a different kind of mindset each time they played it the first bunch of times on this tour. And this jam manifests itself very differently. You have that last segment, those last few minutes where they hit into double time, and it's kind of that Salt vibe where it's like seat of your pants, going, hairpin turns around corners and dark alleys, and cool shit like that. I am very here for mid-set 2, Jive Lee.
Oh, hell yeah.
This is sick. And this Jive Lee is sick.
It is very sick. For 10 minutes, it's nuts, actually. I love this jam.
The only other point I want to make is, why is this the only Bob Don on Summer Tour?
And you were talking earlier, I forget what specific song you were looking for, like, please jam the song. Like, for what are we talking about now? 3 years that Bob Don's been out there? Longer than that? Like, please give us a 20-minute jam, a 22-minute fucking Bob Don jam.
Just play with for 20 minutes.
Please.
Sure.
But seriously, why is this the only Bob Don in like 20-something shows?
Because they have a deep catalog.
Yeah, but like,
I'm with you, man.
Bob Don.
Yeah, I'm with you. More.
Where is it?
Yep.
We need it back.
100%.
So not much more to add about this. This Jive Lee was played with a 32 show gap, which is nuts.
Whoa.
Ryan, you can correct me by one if you want. And this is even crazier. This is only the third second set Jive Lee since 2021.
Oh.
Which is wild. Like, that doesn't make sense, right?
And the other two were both in 2024.
I think so, yeah. So I didn't write that down.
I know, so it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm looking at it right now.
The vibe that actually kind of is throughout this Jive Lee is a little bit of that, like, bass and drums and flamingos. It gets dark. Trevor adds a little bit of tension. Peter keeps it like really weird with the synth, and the last few minutes remind me of a jam that I can't put my finger on, but it's a jam they've played before. And this 10 minutes goes so many different places, and so this is the highlight of the show, in my opinion, is this Jive Lee. And it's really cool stuff. It's 10 minutes out of the show.
So question,
saying a lot about the show.
You have nothing from the show on your playlist.
I have 0 things from the show on my playlist. Okay. The other thing I want to add is late second set Bob Don is sick, and they should do that again. So you're talking about before Jive, you were saying like Atlas Dog showing up in the second set, and people were stoked on that, and you were kind of scratching your head and like, I see where you're coming from there. I think you get a similar effect from this Bob Don that is better in the second set. So I like that here. And then again, this doesn't get noted by many, but the You Spin Me Round here is the Goose again. But we didn't know it at the time. We didn't realize.
Wanted Dead or Alive.
Yeah, just Dead or Alive. I think it's just Dead or Alive.
Wanted. Oh, that's a Bon Jovi song.
That is a Bon Jovi song. But so there's more Goons here with the You Spin Me Round.
Can I just say, Neil, I need you to go listen to this Dustin Hoffman again. Because Big Modern, take it or leave it on the playlist. Like, it's on mine, but I understand if you don't have it on yours. This Dustin Hoffman should 100% be on your jam.
And go do it right now. We'll take a break.
Yeah, we're gonna take a 21-minute break
and just
for Neil to go listen to this
it
Dustin.
real quick.
Yeah, B.
I don't know that I would say it 100%
it's on
has
yours.
to. It's on mine, but it's the lowest. It's the lowest of the Dustin Hoffmans. And again, my playlist currently includes a lot of stuff that, is kind of maybe on the fence, whether it's the shorter jams or some of these like more middling jams where I just can't quite figure out like which one. It's like some of these big moderns. This big modern is not on my playlist. The Jive Lee on the Micro
Will you share that
playlist?
Will you do you have a Micro Jam?
I feel like I just don't want to. I feel like Are you looking at my stuff?
No, I'm not. But do you have a Micro Jam playlist? I'm genuinely asking.
That's a FERPA violation.
Okay.
No, I have a Micro Jam section of my
we would
playlist
all love
that
to
I'm
see
going
your
to put
playlist
into a
at some
separate.
point. I know that's something you like to keep under wraps.
Well, I think Neil think Neil kind of really gave me the idea for this when he was talking about how, you know,
Yeah.
there's all these micro jams that are really good. And the thing is that I feel like because they're playing so many more shows and there's so many more great jams, what will happen is something like this Jive Lee, like if this were last year, it doesn't make my playlist, and then I might just forget about it. You know what I mean? Because I'm constantly just going back to this Jam of the Year playlist because it's such work to like keep it maintained, and you know you're constantly having to figure out where to slot everything in. So it's nice to have this little separate. I think it's going to be nice to have a separate playlist of stuff that is really fun to listen to when you want to break from like the work of the other one. You know what I mean? And you don't have to go back and dig these things up, and I don't want to lose track of them. So anyway, thanks Neil for
Micro jams, man.
giving me that idea. Oh, and also, yes, I have completely different feelings about Bob Don than I do about Atlas Dogs. So,
Well,
totally fine. A Bob Don with especially that can literally just live anywhere. And last thing about that, you know, I think Kevin was making the case for an extended, you know, improvisational journey out of Bob Dylan. I think actually that would work really well.
Yes.
Like within the width. You know what I mean? I think you could easily leave with, and you'd be in. You could get to. You're like one left turn away from Ted Tapes territory from that with jam anyway. You know what I mean? So lots of potential and opportunities there. So, but yeah, I also
keep saying that.
Last thing, I promise. Yeah, this is just another one. This is just another one where, yeah, some great songs are sitting on the shelf, while some other ones get heavy rotation. But things at least are moving. You know what I mean? Like we don't. I'm not confident that Bob Don is going to be given another gap of, you know, however many.
Sure.
They could turn around and play a bunch of Bob Dons in a row again, and you know, who knows what's going on the shelf next.
Just to, you know, if we're gonna are we wrapping up this set here?
Yeah, let's
I think so. We really dragged this one out.
Well, I'd like to correct the record here, because a couple different times on discussing this set within this podcast here, the song "You Spin Me Round Like a Record" has been referred to by multiple different names of bands, and that was entirely inaccurate. The pod overall is very apologetic for this error. Dead or Alive is the artist for "You Spin Me Like a Record." So I just wanted to clear that up.
Thanks, Kev.
Yeah, it's also sick.
Sick.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to Arizona with the
Phoenix, Arizona
debut of Booby Cancun.
Yeah, home not home of our own Kev, who was there at the show, which is like really important.
I lived there for 10 years.
10 years of Kev.
Yeah, in Phoenix, in the desert.
Should any city be so lucky?
Seriously.
Denver's
lucky for 10 years of Kev.
Yeah.
Also that. So we have a set one opener of Hot Love and the Lazy Poet. We get Turn Cloud's heavy rotation song up until this point. Time to Flee into the Whales. Time to Flee. You get Seekers, because there's no way on earth they were playing that in Colorado this year. So here it is. So they jam that right into that set. And then you get a Hunger Site, a really strong Hunger Site to close the set.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lot to say about this set other than Time to Flee sat on the shelf for a really long time. It's an excellent song. And it's one of those songs where I think Peter is especially strong. I think he's very comfortable in this song. It's obviously his song, so that makes sense. And it's a weird one to kind of live on the shelf for as long as it did. You get an excellent segue into the Whales. Otherwise, I don't have extensive notes on this Hunger Site, other than it's a good Hunger Site. I know, Ryan, you're really high on this one, so I'll let you say all the words that you have. You know, you can read off the whole
review,
your Substack on that.
I didn't write about this show because I wasn't there, but I have a lot of thoughts. I mean, first off, you know, Hot Love 2 shows, weird. You know, even for that song, weird to see it pop up again. You know, I guess they wanted to get it out of the way because they weren't going to be able to play it again until after Fiddlers. But regardless, you get this Peter sandwich in the first set, the Flea Whales Flea. I remember this Flea has a beautiful, just like laid back vibe to it. And the segue into the Whales is fantastic. Flea is delivering. The two versions that have been played in 2025 have both been really cool examples of the band kind of exploring that patient side to their jamming. And it's a tragedy that there's only two versions of it because, as you said, Neil, it's a great song, and it jams. And I think the fact that, we had one in February in Grand Rapids that was really good. You have one here that's really good. And that's it for 2025 so far. And I think that's, something I'd love to see Flea kind of get into more regular rotation in September, especially if it's going to be jamming this way.
They're at the, I think it's at the mercy of things like Pancakes and Redbird and Feel It Now. Like it's, Peter's, and that's a testament to Peter, right? Like his songwriting just improving as we go on here.
Yeah, but I think on this tour, you're really getting, correct me if I'm forgetting some obvious thing, but I think you're getting Pancakes, you're getting Redbird, and you're getting Iguana Song. And those are the only Peter songs that are in regular rotation through this tour. And so I think there's definitely room for more than one Flea. That's the point I'm making. But so this Hunger Site to close the set, and one of the two big jams that this show kind of resides on. First half of this jam, you get that Carnation 921-24 vibe, just like Rick just hosing the crowd down. Beautiful bliss licks. And at this point, I remember watching the show, on the couch being like, all right, that'll be the end of the set. It's going to be that 12, 13, 14 minute of just like absolutely amazing peak set closer. And then they do this post-peak jamming. I think this is the first instance of the post-peak jam on this tour, unless I forgot something. But there are a few of these and a couple of really standard Hunger Site jams where they're not just ending the jam after the peak, which is something I think that Goose hasn't totally figured out yet, especially in this song. And something that I would love for them to do. We've seen Hunger Sites where it's 18 minutes of peak and then 4 minutes of post-peak jamming that does something, but then they never really commit to it. And this one feels like they really commit to that post-peak motif. It's kind of Factory Fiction-y, very gritty, very dark, and that gives this jam this wonderful yin-yang between the first half and the second half. And it's very Rick-led throughout. I think both sections, he's right at the forefront, kind of setting the tone for what they're doing. But the post-peak jam is something that I think the band should absolutely lean more into, because the times that they did it on this tour, it resulted in spectacular stuff.
All right, folks.
We
don't have thoughts on set one. Okay.
Actually, I'm sorry. I couldn't find the mute button.
For Ryan, right? For Ryan, right?
The unmute button for yourself. Yeah.
The mute button for Ryan, right?
So Time to Flee has been played twice this year.
Yeah.
So that's surprising, right? Turbulence has been played 3 times.
Fair.
Like, that's crazy to me. Yeah. Anyway, just looking at all these different, stats around times played and gaps, and there's some real surprises, and yeah. So Yeti has been played twice as much as Turbulence. But yeah, I always thought Flea was such a great opener because it's such an open, mellow jam. It always felt like an opportunity for everyone to, settle in and whatever. And I don't know, maybe that's not as big of a deal anymore. They're just seasoned pros at this point and kind of can walk out and they're good to go, from the first note. But yeah, I always liked those Fleas that, it's a song that'll clock in at like 12 minutes, but it'll have a really nice, mellow, blissful build. And it's just a great, it's like unoffensive. You know what I mean? It's just a nice jam. But yeah, otherwise, the Hunger Site is good. I think this one like just continues to just kind of slide down my list a little bit as they knock out more good jams. Um, I think the thing for me is more about kind of the combo of Hungerside and Dripfield for this. And I think I said it on the day after show that this is the best kind of hunger drip duo
100%.
in terms of quality of both
Fair.
versions in a show. But I don't want to jump ahead to set 2 any more than that. So
set 2. Yeah. So we
shall
have
we?
Wisteria Lane into Tomorrow Never Knows, Slow Ready, Dripfield. That's it. That's all that you get in the second set.
And an encore.
And in the second set. And then it's a gigantic Dripfield. This
Big
thing
drip.
is big.
Colossal.
And then you get an encore of The Way It Is, not very big.
You going to do that?
We yearn for the larger versions of The Way It Is. I think those are behind us. That's a shame. I don't have copious notes on this other than the fact that this Dripfield is enormous in spirit and in length. It's saucy. It gets into the mayhem that Dripfield can get into, and it does it in the best possible way. I don't have words to describe the thing that I'm hearing when I listen to this, but I mean that's the centerpiece of this show, and it's also the best jam of the show. It's also maybe one of the better jams of the whole latter part of this first half of the tour. Very good stuff.
The second quarter of the tour?
Sure, second quarter. That's probably the best way to describe it. But that's it. That's all I got.
The fifth quintile.
What do you got, Jive?
So this Wisteria is really good. Definitely a micro jam.
Yep.
I was just start saying micro
it.
jam playlist. Is that cool?
Please explain what the micro jam playlist is.
For people that might not know.
No.
Someone might have skipped ahead.
Oh, just
an hour and 40 minutes into this episode.
No, you can't do that.
You want to
Go
know what the
back.
micro jam
Start
playlist
over.
is? You got to listen. Yeah,
You're missing way too much context. You're not going to get a
That's
lot of the
actually the
jokes
reason to
later.
listen all the way through. Yeah.
So as now, some might say that the Wisteria is
I would say
ripcorded. Another nice segue here. The Tomorrow Never Know, and I would say it was ripcorded. I would have rather they kept that jam going, but the don't skip Tomorrow Never Knows in anger, because it actually has a nice little jam in it itself. You can skip the Slow Ready to get to the Dripfield,
skip,
but you can fast forward Tomorrow Never Knows. But don't skip the Wisteria. And yes, the Dripfield is everything
you wanted.
Neil said it is, and I think it's definitely in my top 10. I've actually got it at number 6 right now. This Dripfield, 6 overall. So
Ryan's
maybe
right there with you.
high. I don't know.
Well, no,
Maybe it's too
I
low.
actually
We'll
moved it down, Neil, after our very productive playlist evaluation session in the car from New Hampshire to New York.
Was it just you guys taking turns calling each other fucking idiots?
No, actually, I actually
productive.
really like when I have long drives with Neil on tour, because we spend a lot of the time listening to playlist jams and talking about them, because I think it's rare for any of us to really get an opportunity like that kind of in person with another person who takes it as seriously as we do with the ranking, to kind of just like listen to it in real time and kind of be like, well, this is why I have it so high, and well, this is why you should lower it a little bit. And so I think that was a very productive peer review session, rather than Neil just calling me names in a group chat,
Nice.
which is what most of the peer review sessions look like.
Yeah.
So I lowered it after that, but this Dripfield is still one of my favorite jams of this tour. I've listened to it a lot of different times, and I think the placements of Dripfields in this tour, this one being in its usual second set closing spot, but with no curfew, it was able to go for 25 minutes. But a lot of times, you got a second set opener, you had an early second set placement at CMAC. There's a lot of Dripfield being in different slots, which is fantastic. And this one is amazing, as you mentioned, Neil. The sauce, the grit, just like the sheer force behind this jam is why I think it's so amazing. And they just are able to sustain that for so long. And again, Cotter deserves so much of the credit for this song being able to be as big as it is with just one guy on drums. You know, for years we were saying the hallmark of Dripfield is two drums and the the double drum attack. And Cotter's just being like, no, like like when you're this good, one guy can do this, which is awesome. And also incidentally, I just looked, looking at elgoose.net when I was looking at this set and gaps on Wisteria. This is the last Wisteria of the tour, which is ridiculous. Like it's kind of, it kind of got back into regular rotation again, but now, now it's been since Arizona. This is also the first Wisteria I wasn't in attendance for since the fall of 2023.
Nobody
which
cares.
I didn't realize. I care, and I'm going to say it.
No one cares.
No
I know
one
nobody
cares.
cares,
Yeah.
but like I think stats are interesting.
If I could offer some final thoughts on this Dripfield, the Arizona, what was it? The Arizona Financial Theater was the name of the place. The stage was huge. Like they had a lot of area to work with, which also meant that Getty had a lot of area to work with in terms of his lighting setup, which I felt, again, was like setting the table, a little bit of practice for what came later in the tour. But all of those things at this point coming together at that Dripfield, the lights, the playing in all places, where that Mustang Sally happened a couple years back, Tempe take it from the top. Goose redeemed themselves in Phoenix this stop.
There we go. I mean, and that's not a bad show. There were a lot worse shows on that tour
Mustang
that didn't have
Sally.
two very good jams. But yeah, I digress.
What was that? We were just saying
it's no Flagstaff.
It's
Phoenix
not.
is no
And it's
Flagstaff.
definitely no Charleston.
No.
Kev brings the vibes. I
All
think
right,
that's the important thing to remember here.
Shall we prove that there's no Colorado attendance bias?
We are about to completely prove that there is. So
Yeah,
let's go.
Well, not at this show, because this show is fantastic. June 6th, Fiddler's Green, night 1 of 2. Drive, How It Ends, Susie Q, Turbulence, Indian River, Animal. So this set, of course, is notable mainly for two things.
Susie Q.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That was actually going to be the first thing out of my mouth. They debuted another Creedence cover.
Chugel, man. Chugel.
Thank God for the Chugel. No, the Woes are back in Drive. It's got lyrics now.
New verse.
Can't you see we're cut from the same cloth? Can't you see by now it's all made up? I mean, I think the biggest takeaway here is that the Woes are back. This and the only other Drive played the rest of this tour in Cleveland had that. Cool to see them take on this jam, this opener. Also, 20 minutes to open the show. This is the thing where it's like, I think we were talking about on the day after shows. It's like, is this just a Colorado thing or is this the tour gaining momentum? And I think this was just a Colorado thing. This kind of like, we're going to open the show with a 20-minute jam. And I think this is something that I'd love to see them do more. We keep talking about that, of course, but like come out hot, come out with a 20-minute jam because this Drive is fantastic. This is not on my playlist. I don't know, maybe it should be, but I don't think it should be. It's just like two guitar bliss, early evening, sun is out, you're having a good time, and you're excited about the fact that they're bringing back the old composed section of Drive. And then the Sanskrit verse in Indian River, 298 shows since Legend Valley 21 on 6/19/21. Last time they did that.
297. But
really, really cool to see that come back. And I think my only complaint about this set is that they bailed on the really cool jam that was developing in that Indian River for another pretty long animal. That does the animal thing. And it's good.
Pretty long
and,
animal.
I was saying on the day after shows all tour that I'm not bored of it yet, but now like in hindsight, looking back at these sets, and I don't think I'm bored of the animal jam per se, but I'm bored of other things getting scrapped for 17 to 19 minutes of animal.
Well, we talk about all the stuff that, we want them to play,
Sure.
something has to give.
It should be animal.
And
it should
no,
be. Yes.
I don't know that it be animal, and it's a whole nother thing. You know what I mean? I don't think we have time to go into all that. I would, if I was making the rules.
Well, if you were making the rules, a lot of
would
things would be different.
go away for me. But that's kind of Goose's thing. You know what I mean? They've always played covers, and I think they always will. But yeah, they've just got a lot of stuff, and I think this set is indicative of that with the Indian River. And I think that the Indian River, I think this is the way to play it. I think this has always been my favorite, kind of version. Well, not even talking about the Delta, just the way they play Indian River and the various ways that they play it. But as long as you're going to mention Welcome to Delta, yeah, I think that just
listen.
got
This
stale.
is also the only Indian River of the tour, and it was 40 shows since the last one in Miami. Sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to contextualize that a little bit.
Sorry to interrupt, Ryan.
With the statistic there, yeah.
And the other thing I was going to say is I wouldn't blame you if this drive was on your playlist. It shouldn't be high on your playlist, but it's got two nice little jams in it. Yeah, it's a nice drive. And then we get I think this is the last Turbulence that we've seen.
I think that might be right.
I hadn't even realized that. Holy shit.
Yeah.
You are correct.
Shelved it.
Whoa. That's really interesting.
Well, that's what I was saying a minute ago.
Yeah.
They've only played 3
That's
all
fascinating.
year.
Because they didn't play at Milwaukee to Bend, which was unusually long. And yeah, now they haven't played since Fiddlers. Whoa. Weird.
And I was super happy to see how it ends. It is a great song, and it's got a big little jam. Just its built-in jam it's a pretty big little jam. So yeah, I think
Jive Goose checking the boxes
at
his 2 shows for the year.
Yeah. So
yeah, definitely actually the drive, the return of proper drive, and then Indian River. I mean,
you were ready to go home after
big
night
boxes
one.
to check,
after that, it's a good thing you did.
Yeah. Turns out ramps up from there.
Definitely.
I mean, I'm with you guys. This set really is all about the Susie Q. I mean,
biggest CCR fan around.
What an asshole.
It's something. No, like, so the 20-minute drive to open the show is great. It's I don't know if it needs to be a set list jam or a playlist jam for this to be like awesome. And I think that's important to note. It doesn't compare to last year's drive in Colorado. I don't think, and that's fine that it doesn't. It's just a great jam to open the show. We got this at 3 Nights in Mexico. They opened up with a jam, and I love this, and I wish they did it more. There's no reason for them not to. Like, why not open the show with a jam? Especially the amount of like jam vehicles they are kind of playing and then leaving on the table or left to spoil, as it were, because they don't really jam them out necessarily. So they should do this more often. I think that absolutely nails. And then how it ends, of course, is beautiful and wonderful. And I am not an Indian River guy, but this Indian River is really, really good. The vibe hits. Of course, they want to play it in Colorado. I think it's born there. Rick's time living in Colorado and Boulder. And yeah, it's just, the reggae vibe probably fits. I don't know. You guys were there. I wasn't there. And I was at home crying into a glass of Merlot the whole time, just thinking about like how I wanted to be with my friends. But in any case, sick. I love the way that plays out. Otherwise, Animal does what Animal does. It closes set 1 and it does it strong. This is a solid first set. To be honest, though, and I was saying this in chat earlier, trying to stir you guys up a little bit, I was expecting more from Colorado because historically you get more in Colorado.
Well, we got it in set 2.
It doesn't happen in this first set.
What would you, like, honest like legit question, what would you have changed about set one? What would you have tweaked about set one to make it more
Well, I think I covered that in my
Colorado?
comments. Like you look at
I
this year's
wasn't.
drive versus last year's
I
drive.
wasn't
Like
listening.
I just more jams, I guess, is what I would expect.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually like zooming out a little bit. I think that's what I would say about this whole entire tour is I wish there were more jams.
Yeah.
But that's that's the thing we always say on this
And-
podcast. So like when we say it, like it doesn't really carry much weight. We're like, I wish there were more jams. But like honestly, I think this was an opportunity for them to go out there and do the thing that they do incredibly well, the thing that hooked the four of us on this band, and go out there and just do straight improv and just let it kind of roll over people and see what happens. They had the most captive audience they can get. You know, they had how many thousands of people, like 10, 12, whatever at Fiddler's, and all of those people were there for the jams. So
not all, but
yeah, I don't know, man.
Most.
There are a lot of vibes guys there.
There's a lot of vibes guys. There's a lot of families there. There's a lot of people that are not yet fans. Like I think that's actually like a really good thing to highlight at this point is they're at that sort of cusp where they're not always playing to those core fans or you know the next rush of fans that came onto the band, but there's people that are coming in that you know that are filling those 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 seat places that you know are not so dialed into the jams. And I you know that I think that's a great thing to highlight is it's going forward going to be a balancing act for them, you know, accommodating those new fans as well as, you know, making sure that we're entertained with their improvisational prowess.
So what you're saying is they should throw in like a Gild the Lily cover, like here and there.
Yeah, exactly. That'll get the Colorado crowd. All right, let's go to set two here.
Wait, Jive, you had
let's go to
say.
set two. Let's go to set two.
Jive.
Oh, Jive, you have something to say before we move on? Gild the Lily got you.
No.
Yeah, he's following the
waiting.
procedures.
So here's the thing about Animal. I think I might have read this like in the Nugs reviews because yes, I read the Nugs reviews to all the Colorado shows. But I think someone actually commented that someone asked Cotter, I think, if they would play Animal because someone had passed away. And so I think, you know, we never know why they're playing something as often as they do or if the timing's funny or whatever, you know what I mean? At least for this one, because I think none of us thought we were going to get Drive or Animal. I think we were all like, no
Neil
way
thought there would
Drive
be
or
repeats
Animal
from
tonight.
Fiddler's 24.
Whatever. So go on.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you for the context there. That is important.
And then the only other thing is, I think as far as like getting the new fans hooked, I mean, I think that's why we're hearing so much.
Well, this is the first true Goons in set two here. We get Tumble, Factory Fiction, State of the Art, Echo of a Rose, Psycho Killer, Echo of a Rose, depending on how you look at it, Factory Fiction with an encore of Arcadia. This second set is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
This is one of the best sets of the tour. That isn't just like, I think, you know, maybe there are a couple better sets that are just like three huge jams in a row and then a closer. But this is I think the best set of the tour that has, you know, a couple of covers and I think more songs going on. But you open up with this Tumble, which is fantastic, really digging in on that initial funk groove, amazing 2-guitar stuff. And then they kind of get out into this airy major key space. Again, Peter hanging on to the guitar, really just building underneath Rick. This has been a sleeper jam of the tour for me. I didn't listen to it a ton right after it happened. I remember loving it the next day, but didn't really listen to it a ton after. And then I went back to it, you know, last week, and I was like, whoa, like this is excellent. And then you get Factory Fiction, which this was an audible, I believe, if I remember correctly. But this is the beginning of Factory Fiction continuing. This is the beginning of Factory Fiction emerging as a jam vehicle. And I think this is something we talked about for a while, is like, it's the quote unquote special closer. It's the encore. It's just kind of doing the Factory Fiction thing for a while. And here's the beginning of it stretching its legs. And both halves in this set do really cool things, very different things. So this one goes into the kind of jam that Goose doesn't really do. And I would love to hear more from them. And I'm curious to hear your guys' take on this first half especially. But you get several minutes of just like thick haze and just like outer space, everybody just doing textures. And the way that it resolves into state of the art, thanks to Rick, is just beautiful. And I think this is a really cool kind of, zone that I would love to see Goose get into more, where they're just like all just making noise. And not like a dissonant and disjointed way where it's just like, but just this thick cloud of haze, which is really cool. And then you get the Echo Psycho Killer Goons. Again, the first true Goons that we get, Peter layers on those loops, those arpeggios, and we just go, a couple of nice builds from Cotter. And then you get back into the ending of Factory Fiction. The first part of this jam, first 3-4 minutes, you think it's just going to be this exclamation point. They're going to rip into the ending, and that's going to be the end of the set. And then you get like 8 minutes of some of the best jamming of the entire tour. At least for me, somebody who loves the evil jamming and loves the tense dissonance. This is my favorite jam of the tour. I think the second part of Factory Fiction, the way that they just keep going in kind of Westville Rockdale style, just when you think it's going to be it and they're going to rip back into the ending, they find a new thing. And then like Peter gets in on the fuzzed out clav, and it's just like, oh my God, like we're just going to keep going. And then when they finally get back into Factory Fiction, it's just like, triumphant and incredible. But yeah, if it wasn't clear, I love this set. End rant.
It's an insane set, for sure. I'll admit I was disappointed when Tumble started up. It's generally not one of my favorite songs, and this is a really good.
It is though.
Really good Tumble, all capitals.
It's no, it really is. No, it really is. It's just heavy. It's really heavy, like almost dark, like just that kind of like old school like dance hall shreddery type stuff from Rick. And then the Factory Fiction, there's two parts here, and both are really good. And there's a drive that we'll talk about, I think, next time we do part 2 of this whole first part 2 of most of the summer, but not all of summer. So there might be a part 3 of summer at some point. But there's a drive there that's broken out where both parts are pretty good. I'm kind of rethinking. I'm building my playlist out this year, and I'm actually combining the two parts.
I think he just said, yeah, Ryan.
Well, sorry. I mean, you can do that, but for the purposes of the Jam of the Year bracket.
I'm just talking about my playlist. I mean,
okay, you're right. I just want to make sure that people listening know that for the purposes of the Jam of the Year bracket, the precedent will continue that they will be separate.
Make me mute you again, Ryan Storm. I'll do it.
And I just want people to know that if Ryan Storm has violated your playlist privacy in any regard whatsoever, there's a lot of litigation attorneys in the scene. So get in touch with I don't know who. But
in-house counsel, Adam.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
607.
I forgot.
I might go ahead.
Well,
and submit.
They will count as like so. For example, if you have them ranked 12, it will be 12 and 13. You already muted me once, Neil. I know you will do it again.
So when you say you said Echo of a Rose into Psycho Killer back into Echo of a Rose, then you said like
because it's tracked as Echo, but like it's still Psycho Killer.
I look at it how the band looks at it.
Oh no, the precedent is there, but like to me in my head, it's Psycho Killer. But yes, it is the Echo, the second Echo track.
It's very echoey to me.
Okay,
come on.
Pretty clearly Psycho Killer, but
yeah, it's definitely still Psycho Killer.
Would you rather see them do? Because obviously we can't have a 14-minute Psycho Killer track
for royalty purposes.
So would you rather see Like It Is Now, Psycho Killer, Echo, or would you rather see Psycho Killer,
Absolutely
Greenwood
that.
Village Jam? Echo?
Yeah,
That
because
you
they
would. That's
don't
what you want to see.
do Echo again. Like they don't finish Echo.
Well, eventually.
But
That's
like,
true.
this is a good moment to stop and talk about this, because folks have asked for this on social media, saying like, why do they do this? And the canned answer is, Ryan, which I know you're dying to dive into, which is it's for royalty
I don't need to
reasons.
dive into it, but yeah, it's that.
But is it though, really? I mean, it was when Fish was selling, CDs of this,
I
and
think
that's
maybe
where
certain
it all
bands.
kind of did. But like, where is it now? Like, is there actually a royalty thing? Like, if it's up on Bandcamp, they have to pay royalties on Psycho Killer? Really?
I don't know because it's interesting because maybe different artists have different rules because obviously like there's no issue with the way it is. Think of the Pines. There's no issue with Mississippi Half Step. But maybe Psycho Killer has maybe Talking Heads have some steep royalty rates for this. I don't know. It's all speculation. But to me, this is a Psycho Killer jam. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter
Because it's so fucking good.
because it's great. Yeah, Goose.
Sorry. Yeah, we kind of stopped Jive in the middle of his discourse about this show. So,
We're good at that.
do you want to continue on your second set?
You're on mute.
No, I said a lot. Yeah. So Factory Fiction parts 1 and 2, really good on my playlist.
Yeah.
Tumble's
This
on my
tumble
playlist also.
is surprisingly good. I mean, there is something about this tumble, which tumble changes after the show. I think right after the show.
Yeah.
And this version of tumble is pretty sick because Trevor kind of has that walking bass line thing going on, and it has very much that 70s, 80s R&B vibe to it, which I love. And this shows up more. It shows up in a Hot Tea later on down the road. And I can't get enough of this stuff. I think it's great. I said earlier in the pod that Trevor has been listening to a lot of Michael Jackson. I think this proves that to be true. And then the jam that ensues after the fact, like you said, goes to like a lot of really cool places. So this is a decent tumble, if not pretty good tumble, as you know, I like to say. And then Factory Fiction doing the thing that it hasn't done historically, which is being a centerpiece jam vehicle in a set. Like, hell yeah, bring that on. And then, of course, you get kind of two aspects of this Factory Fiction. You get the first half that really has like, I don't know, like it's nice and quiet, and it gets like really crazy with the synth, and it gets psychedelic, and you know, it's beautiful and soft, and it seems like nobody knows what to do with it. So Rick is just like, now is the time. Let's play AIOU, and then it actually develops a really cool arc from there. So it goes from like decently soft, and AIU as a song goes from decently soft to gigantic peak at the end. So it's like really, really big. So it has a way of actually kind of building the energy back up from Factory Fiction, which is nuts. But that is actually what happens there. And then, kind of gigantic ending. They go into Echo. Echo is kind of really meant as a conduit from one song to the next. They play Psycho Killer, obviously gets a gigantic reaction, and then they do the second part of Psycho Killer, Echo, whatever you want to call it.
Psycho
and
Killer.
Man, it's just this is the good stuff, right? This is the thing that you're really excited about. And it's not just the Goons though. That's the thing. That's the cool thing about this one in particular. The Goons can be very one-dimensional. This is not that. This has got a whole lot more to it. It's got Trevor kind of introducing this grimy bass line, the whole band kind of picking it up. The Goons does come in, and you do get that. You get the Goonsy dance party, but there's more to it than that. There's substance here. And I think that is what makes this show, this particular jam song, whatever you want to call it, really, really good stuff. So definitely love that. And then, of course, they drop back into Factory Fiction, Ryan, which that I love this stuff. And it's really kind of eased in by Peter cranking up the synth and making it extra weird. And they come back into this thing. And then you get, kind of the classic like dynamics work of like Peter and Trevor and Cotter kind of building up this percussive dissonance thing, and like everybody's coming in and it gets all kind of crazy, and there's a melodic aspect to it that I think is different than the Westville Rockdale. So like you're reminded of Westville Rockdale when you listen to this, but there's more to it than that. And like you, I love this section of the show. And zooming out a little bit and stopping talking about, particular moments in this show, this second set is one of the most well-constructed sets of Goose I think I've ever heard. It is near perfect. It's got all of the things that you were looking for in a set. It's got the dance party. It's got the jams. It's got the vibes. It's got Rick singing his guts out in AEIOU. I mean, it's got it all. This is really something. So I was giving you guys a hard time in chat about Colorado attendance bias, but this set is worth every bit of Colorado attendance bias.
It's night 2 that you're going to say sucks.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. I mean, and we'd be remiss if we didn't at least talk about this Arcadia. This is, the only Arcadia of the tour that kind of has a little bit of room to do something. It's like 17 minutes. There's a cool part in the middle where it's basically just Get Out of My Life Woman, JGB style, which I think is cool. Other than that, nothing super exciting. Jive Goose, why don't you tell us about the greatest live music moment of your life in the first set of night 2 at Fiddler's?
Hold on.
I mean, let's approach it like we approach all the shows. June 7th, 2025, Fiddler's Green Night 2. And I think you skipped over this, but Greenwood Village, Colorado.
Great city.
Great
city. Near to Kev.
So yeah, set 1. I think we were expecting to get a lot of new album stuff. And we sure did. So set 1 opens with Your Direction, and then Torero, My Mind Has Been Consumed by Media, A Western Sun, Rockdale, Dustin Hoffman, Running Up That Hill, Into the Mist, ending jam only. So finished. I mean, I would consider this a finished.
It is the finish. This is the finish.
Yeah. But, it's called Into the, it's tracked out. It's finished. It's the finishing.
The great finishing, if you will.
So yeah, a pretty big jam here in the Your Direction. We talked a lot about the drive from night 1, and this is a pretty big jam to open up night 2. And they not too much of an intro jam on this one. They ease their way into it. But yeah, really nice way to open the show. Such a vibe. And so was very happy to see the song because I had never seen it, but it just, it's a sunny day.
It's running through your veins.
Just a great vibe to open the show. Torero, which has a little bit of a jam on it as well. They definitely weren't rushing through anything or trying to knock anything out quickly. And then we got a shorter My Mind Has Been Consumed by Media than the first one we talked about a little bit ago. And yeah, it's, I guess I have mixed feelings. Maybe I'm an older guy now.
Definitely old.
Some of the, maybe this is the young, maybe this is for the younger crowd.
If we're lucky.
But it was fun. We had fun. And the I guess the weird part of this set for me is the Western Sun and the Rockdale kind of here just in the middle. Both, pretty short standard versions. So that was interesting to me. Maybe you get an Iguana song in there or something. I don't know. Maybe there's a couple other options. But then I think the trio to close the set is where the magic happens.
Does it ever?
In this and really in this show. I think set 2 has a magical moment as well that we'll talk about. But this Dustin Hoffman jam is I think amazing. I think now this isn't as long as the 2 previous versions that both went over 20 minutes, but I think this is the best version of the 3. So
shocking.
And I don't think there's any bias. You call it what you want. I've listened to them side by side, and this is a killer version. This is a killer jam. A very excellent segue into Running Up That Hill, which I feel like this is, I don't know if I would say this year's like I Would Die for You. I don't know. This is like or Blood Buzz Ohio. This feels like this
the
year's
cover.
Yeah, that they really enjoy playing. And so it was cool to see. I wondered if we'd get a big jam out of this. I'm thinking, hey, we're getting close to end of set time. I wondered if maybe we'd get a big jam out of Running Up That Hill. And when they started up the Mist Jam, I didn't recognize it right away.
None of us did.
And so I thought, yeah, they're gonna jam out this Running Up That Hill, and then Ryan spoiled it for me and told me what it was instead of just letting me,
shut up,
like enjoy.
I remember looking
I
at Ryan.
I actually saw a text from Garrett, and I got really excited.
Ryan, even before that, like I remember looking at you, being like, I don't know what this is, but this is like so familiar, and that was. And it was so familiar. And it was like right before that, you got that text.
Well, it was because the last time they played that Mist Jam
67 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Like that 4-chord, like that Moby-ish kind of thing hadn't been played since 2023. But yes, I did spoil it for you, B, but I saw Garrett's message that was like, holy shit, this is Mist. And my brain was just like, oh my God, they're doing it. Like that was basically what happened. And I mean, it didn't seem like it diminished the excitement for you at all when they, hit the ending.
No, super, super awesome moment to get that. And, I kind of feel like, I don't know, it felt a little personal to me. I don't know, maybe that's an overreaction. Or I'm being like selfish or narcissistic.
You never.
Even.
Yeah, you earned that Mist.
But yeah, it felt like a little bit of a nod, and so that was super cool. Yeah, I mean, I was super psyched, and then you listen to it again, and you're like, oh yeah, of course it's Mist.
Yeah,
right. Hear this?
Well, yeah. If you guys didn't see the video of Jive Goose winning the lottery, I've never seen him so happy. I think that the three of us. We had a moment during the ending of that Mist. I forgot that I was at altitude and I was jumping up and down for like the last 3 minutes of that, and then the set ended and I had to like really catch my breath for a bit.
You gotta go for a jog here and there.
Like I can't do it. Hey, I can move up and down at sea level. Okay.
Man, the only thing I can say about the set is I was just so happy for you guys. I was a little disappointed that Peter did not come through on his promise of an entire set
of the Mist ending,
of endings.
End of the Mist openers, closers. I don't even know what to call it. So I mean that's a shame, but
I think
Peter didn't come through.
We're calling it happy endings.
I like it. I like it.
Peter didn't really come through, but he came through. So like we're really happy about that. So Peter, if you're listening to this, which you're probably not, but thank you for that. Because we really needed that, because otherwise we would have just kept beating that horse to death. And now I don't know what we talk about.
I mean, listen, they unfinished it more later in the tour, so I think the crusade lives on.
Yeah,
but they have finished it in spectacular ways, meaning that like I don't know if we can beat that horse to death anymore. We will continue to beat the horse to death because that's what we do. Me. Yeah. Yeah, man. Otherwise, I don't know what to say about this set.
No, this Dustin is fantastic.
It is really good. I have like extensive notes on that. The cool thing about this one in particular is Trevor doesn't take this into a dark space. He doesn't do this like funky thing. He like keeps it like light, which like he doesn't really do a whole ton when they play this. And I like the result is it kind of shifts into this kind of lighter territory. Then Rick comes in with like the octave down sauce. And the octave down sauce is my favorite thing that Rick does with the guitar right now, where it gets like really deep, really saucy, and I don't know what we've been referring it to it as, but that is what it is. He just hits the sauce and he hits the octave down pedal, and it just sounds so good. And so that showing up inside of Dustin is pretty dope. There was like a little bit of this, and this shows up in Dustin a lot, which is like the Thatch-esque line of like the dun 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 dun, like the whole Milo Believe thing.
You mean
It's
the Thatch
really really pronounced. No, I don't think it's Thatch tease. I think it's a natural part of this song. We just call it a Thatch tease because we don't know what to call it yet.
What?
Every single time, we can't note it as a Thatch tease every time they play the song.
I mean, we can, because it hasn't happened that many times. But I digress.
It's happened more than you recall. It has happened more than you recall. But
okay.
In any case, this is really good. And then the dissonance bliss thing that happens at the end there that leads into running up that hill is incredible. Then of course, like you guys had said already, running up that hill is kind of like the big cover of the year. Of course, they bring it out later at Madison Square Garden. It's dope. It's really, really good. My wife heard this the other day and she's like, "Oh, this is really good." She's like, "That's a song from Stranger Things." I was like, "Yes."
Yeah.
And like folks who don't even dig the Goose dig this cover. So
there you go. Set 2.
Shall we? Yeah. So real quick, aside from like, any connection to the mist ending, just take a step back. It's an incredible piece of music. It's an incredibly powerful jam.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know Mist has turned into this, type 2 jam vehicle.
Yep.
But it does kind of still make me question, like, why wouldn't you once in a while just play the straight like killer version with a super powerful, emotional ending? I don't know. Just I hope this isn't a
no, they're gonna do it every year in Colorado.
Well, no, but you know what I mean? Like, I really hope that, because the whole place was going nuts for it, so I would hope that they'd see that and then they'd be like, oh man, like, yeah, let's just do a straight up Mist tonight, with the ending.
So we were once again spoiled in 2019 because we constantly got finished Mists, right? The top 3 songs, like lyrically, the top 3 songs that I fell in love with Goose over was A Western Sun, Rosewood Heart, and Into the Mist, right? And I absolutely support what Jive is saying right now, because it's one of those core songs that I think has just been, unfortunately for whatever reason, has been sort of shelved and doesn't get to see its happy ending.
Wait, can I pose a question before we move on from this?
As often as it should.
What if they separate the two things? What if, like, similar to kind of how they've pieced apart SOS and Dawn at times, what if they just do the Mist ending to close a set, and then they just do Mist somewhere else in a show, or maybe not even in the same show, they do it in another show?
Yeah, I would just hope that they would give that Mist ending a different name to complicate Ryan's.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
No, I think if they do that, I would like to see them happen in the same set, kind of like a bookend situation. I think it would work that way. But otherwise, let's move on to set 2 here, I think.
Wait, hold on. I want to hear Jive's opinion on this.
Oh,
all right.
Sorry.
Oh, I'd be fine with that, because I like it so much. I like the song a lot though too.
Yeah.
So I would never want one to be at the expense of the other. But any way I can get more Mist endings, I guess I would take them. So as we segue into set 2, you mentioned, Neil, running up that hill and, its relationship with Stranger Things. We've been watching a lot of Marvel at home lately. And I'm watching all the Marvel movies with my son.
Oh, sick.
But he's watching the new Ironheart series with his mother. And they were watching the first episode last night, and all I heard at one point was Cinnamon playing. And I was like, oh, nice. Just made me think of that when you mentioned running up the hill and your wife and...
Whoa.
Stranger Things.
I thought
And
we were
so,
about to
yeah,
be
just
indulging my other nerd side, but yeah.
Which one of those is
so set two.
set two? Yes.
Big Modern, Fast Slow, Creatures, Cinnamon, Jedstone, and then an Empress encore. So the main thing I want to talk about is Jedstone.
Of course. Why wouldn't you want to talk about anything else?
This was, you know, such an incredible thing to see, and I've listened to this so many times. I tell you, I've listened to the Jedstone more than the Mist ending. I'll be honest.
I know.
I've listened to them both a lot, but yeah, this Jedstone is such an incredible song. It's got really awesome lyrics, and what a nice little jam this has also. And yeah, wow, this is really one where I hope again this isn't some one-off treat for Colorado.
Well, no, they played it later.
Oh, they have played it. They played it at Madison Square Garden. So yeah,
it didn't happen in Colorado.
So yeah,
B didn't
mostly for Colorado. Mostly for Colorado. But actually, that's a good point. I'm glad you said that. I totally spaced that because yeah, when that happened, then it was like, oh yeah, they're playing it at Madison Square Garden. So maybe this is going to be at the big shows. Goosemas will probably get a Jedstone, I imagine.
Okay.
And so the big modern is good, not like all big moderns are. I think this one is just not the rest of the set's not totally my cup of tea in terms of the fast, slow creatures. That's just not my jam. Those songs aren't my jam. But that being said, the place was just eating it up. I mean, I think that's in large part what the people
It's a fucking
want.
dance party, man. Second set dance party.
They want to come out on set. So yeah, so I was a little bit torn on that. That's that was 20. I mean, that was almost 35 minutes of creatures and fast slow. So yeah, we had a good time.
We did have a good time.
And then you got the Cinnamon, and then the Big Jed that we talked about, and then last thing I'll say and turn it over to you guys. This Empress has a really nice little evil jam. Perfect. It's very short, but it's quite evil. So I think that's going to end up being a micro jam playlist jam.
I mean, I have a couple thoughts about this. Jedstone appearing in the show was a big surprise for me. I was expecting it to show up later. I don't know. It didn't seem right here. I was expecting more of a pseudo later on down the road, but it showing up in the show was kind of a big deal. Very, very exciting. And, it just shows that Goose is paying homage to the Colorado crowd. They love the Colorado crowd and they wanted to bring something special. I think they brought all their special stuff to this particular show. And then, the fast slow that happens in this show, I think is the result of them trying to bring the Goons. They realized at some point along the way, oh, this is something special and we want to do this more often. And again, this is a thing that I was saying earlier. It happens at the expense of deeper, more exploratory jams. So there's a trade-off there, but there's a fun factor to it. And so, it's difficult to weigh. If you're a band that wants to go out there and play big shows for big crowds, what are you going to do? You're going to play the thing that the crowd eats up, or are you just going to jam and then, there's a subset of people that eat it up? I don't know. I do love that they're doing this right now, and I like what it did in this particular show. And I also understand how it resonates with you, Jive, where you're just like, well, I wish there was something more. You can look back to last year's huge jams that came out of Colorado and kind of yearn for those, and I wouldn't blame you. So it's a weird set, if nothing else. Like, if you're looking back at previous Colorado shows, you would have expectations. You don't get that necessarily in the show, but I think, again, holistically, this is a good show. I was kind of shitting on the show earlier in chat to get a rise out of you guys. I didn't do that successfully. But overall, holistically, this is a good show.
So real quick, Psycho, Echo, Psycho this year versus Madhu last year.
Madhu last year. Easy. Yeah. I mean, I think we all agree on that, right?
Oh, yeah. What?
Yeah, it's not even
Just
close.
just ask.
Madhavan is the best jam that they have ever played at Fiddler's Green Amphitheater by a significantly wide margin.
Not even close.
In
Yeah.
4 shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This it's not close. Still should have.
Well, is it the best jam they've ever played in Colorado?
Yeah.
Some might say it's the best jam I've ever played. Period.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
That's a whole can of worms. I have a hard time with that now because
That's
not
not what Neil and Ryan's
the
t-shirt says.
because the Grand Rapids Madhavan's just so good, but
Yeah,
matter of taste. That's a matter of taste, man.
this is a January podcast.
This is
We're not getting
a
there.
Jotty of the Year.
Yeah.
All right, St. Louis.
Are we? Yeah.
St. Louis?
Yeah, man. Let's give the band a couple days off, right? Let's give them a couple days off, and then we're going to travel back east back east-ish to
Central
St.
Time.
Louis, June 10th, 2025. The Factory. It says St. Louis, but we're actually in Chesterfield, Missouri, just outside of St. Louis. Great city. If you've never been, great city. We opened the show with Interlude 2, into Jive 1, Peter Vehicle Butterflies, into a Wood Brothers cover of Atlas. One In, One Out makes another appearance. True Love Waits, Atlas, and then we're going to do Lead the Way, and then going to close the set with So Ready.
It's good. This is the first time they've opened a show with Interlude 2. Previously it only came mid-set. Otherwise, Atlas in 2025, that's 2 versions now, I believe. Nope. 3, if you include the acoustic set of Viva El Gonzo. But that's 2 versions electric that have gotten to this kind of extended, cool jamming space. First, Butterflies in, long gap, 40 shows, last played in St. Augustine. And True Love Waits hits right here. But yeah, nothing crazy. I think this is a step above your purely standard songy first set, but not that far.
So, fun fact, I saw Radiohead for the first time in St. Louis.
Stats.
Yeah, they did not play True Love Waits. Do you need to go back into Atlas out of a True Love Waits?
Absolutely not.
Well, it's like the same as finishing Green River at the Masonic the night after. Like, I didn't even realize.
It is not. It's not the same. It's not even close to the same.
I didn't talk about it. I didn't even realize that Green River was unfinished. Like, I don't think anybody in the room was like, where's the last verse of Green River? Like, we need it. Like, like the Big Modern is a very conspicuous thing that, like, you finish that on night 2, like, okay. But yeah, something like True Love Waits, not True Love Waits, something like Atlas, something like Green River, it's like people aren't really thinking about that as much. You get into a sick jam, and then that's where the song went.
What about Electric Avenue, though?
Well,
you can do it there.
Everybody needs the ending of Electric Avenue. We're going to rock down 2.
I don't know, Ryan. You've pinned yourself into a corner here.
No, I'm
Atlas did not need to be finished.
I'm kidding about Electric Avenue, obviously. I wasn't saying that Atlas needed to be finished. I was saying that it didn't.
I don't know. In any case, did you have any more thoughts on this set, Jive? I'm ready to dive in. Well, so the one thing that I like about this set is the Atlas. So you get more of that 70s, 80s R&B vibe in this jam. And it's really, really good. I think, it's not a playlist jam, but if you want to highlight jams in certain shows, and certainly if you like kind of that Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson vibe that was pervasive through like late 70s, early 80s, this is dope. It's really, really good and totally worth checking out. It's like one of those jams where you're like, this is a song that I've heard before, and it's not, or at least not that I've heard. So like if you listen to this jam, tell me if it is some other song. I don't know if it is necessarily, but I love the way this lands. But like Jive said, I don't know why they chose to finish it, because it's the most awkward finish of a song ever. It was like full stop, then let's play the end of this song. Yeah, and like it doesn't make much sense. Otherwise, there's this set it's tough. It's a tough set. They're so ready to end the set. not necessarily exciting. The Lead the Way that kind of is before that, like it's a really short Lead the Way,
Again.
and like I don't get that. Like I don't know, I don't get much about this set. It's a rough set.
Do you want to talk about the second set?
Sure.
Boy
Yeah,
howdy.
man. Yeah.
I mean,
so
yes,
we-
definitely.
Yeah. Well, I took that from the Boy Howdy. So we opened the second set with Arrow, which, much to Neil's chagrin, is unfinished.
It's a good arrow.
Into Mississippi Half Step, Toodaloo, Grateful Dead cover, Madhavan, Dripfield with Encore of Silver Rising.
Y'all like flamingos?
Do y'all like
I do like the
flamingos?
flamingos. I like the flamingos. Hot.
The
Here,
Well,
too.
I think the cool thing about them,
The S&M flamingos, right? That's what we're talking about.
yeah. I think the cool thing about them flying. I think the cool thing about them finding the DMB and flamingos riff in here is how quickly all of them latch onto it. And I don't remember. I listened to this today, but I don't remember whether Rick or Trevor finds it first. But I remember listening to it and being like amazed at the speed with which Cotter locks directly into that same groove that he did at Goose Miss. Because like they all immediately are like, oh, that's exactly what this riff is. And then they build off of that for the remainder of the jam. And I think it's really cool, because it's a very kind of earwormy melodic hook. And it's cool having Rick and Peter all in on that on this one.
So on the topic of this arrow, what I really love about this one is it gets kind of like scary and like a little bit like strange, and then Cotter builds tension in it, doing like the side stick on the drums. And it's a weird thing to do in the middle of a jam like this. Like an arrow for the drummer to be playing side stick is, I mean, truly bizarre, but he chose to do it, and it builds tension, kind of like the way, again, sorry for the Fish reference, the way that Fishman builds like that tension and anxiety in Maze by playing side stick. So you get that in the middle of like all of these things happening. And I love the way that shakes out in this jam. So that is really, really cool. And I love that they revisited this bass and drums and flamingos thing. It's really awesome. And of course, you get Rick playing the octave down sauce right on top of Trevor's bass line in this. So Trevor plays the bass line and Rick plays the exact same notes in the octave down sauce. So it's like right on top of each other. And it's so fat and amazing. And so this is a really cool jam. This lands on my playlist simply because of those sections right there, because I think there's like really creative things that the band is doing at the time. And it's at the bottom of my playlist. It's a hedge. If they play a bunch of sick jams on fall, then maybe it falls off my playlist, but I like it there. So there are folks who will say, oh, this is a familiar jam and like shouldn't be on a playlist and so on and so forth. I disagree. I think the things that they did with the idea of the bass and drums and the flamingos is actually pretty cool.
And it's the best arrow they've played this year.
For sure.
It's on my playlist.
All right. I respect it.
Like you, it's not high.
Yeah.
Not that you're not high.
I am.
Hey-o.
Good one.
The half step is on my micro jams list.
Can you
So look at that.
Can you or have you shared your micro jams list?
As we discussed earlier, it's not a real list. It's kind of the bottom of his playlist. It's a theoretical micro jams list that lives only in the mind of Jive Goose.
It's actually not at the bottom.
Oh, it's not?
No. Do you want to micro jam explain this to Kevin?
Yes,
Warner?
I would actually. I would love to.
Hell yeah. We've reached like full on end of jam podcast territory. Let's fucking go.
That's what we're doing.
That's all I have to say.
Micro jam splaining.
Oh, fuck yeah. Where are we at? Jesus Christ, I've lost
Well,
it.
I mean, just another one to say about the second set. Like, this is one of those sets that's the all killer, no filler thing. Like, they don't need to drop in a cooldown here. You have the arrow, you have the half step, you have the Monavon, you have the drip field. All bangers, all jamming. It doesn't need to be jam of the year material necessarily for the set to be good. And that's the thing here. Like, some of us may have one of these jams on our playlist. Some of us may have none. But this is still an excellent set.
You heard it here, guys. 3 hours in, Ryan is now a vibes guy.
Ryan is he is.
Well, we all know
guy.
that happened during
proclaimed
that happened during the tweezer on Friday night in Boulder.
We don't talk about that.
Well, but that's when those texts happened.
Is that a Bob Seger song?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, I'll say a couple more things about this set before we end, which nobody has said yet, and I'm shocked by. Madhavan is actually an emblematic Madhavan. It doesn't do anything particularly special, but it's really good for what it is. It's kind of last year's San Diego Madhavan in this year, without the kind of length of it. And then this Dripfield, holy crap, man. Why? It's not what it should be, and it should have been bigger, and I don't understand why it wasn't that. This is the argument for the non-core right here. Silver Rising Encore actually I think hits here, but they could have just skipped that entirely and played a shit ton of Dripfield, and I think that would have made the show a whole lot better.
Yeah.
I think when we talk about some of the songs that aren't getting played as much as we would like, and then we say, well, what songs could be played less to make some room, Silver Rising has kind of become one of those for me where maybe it's been played too many times. I don't know. Maybe that's just my opinion, and that's okay. I love the band. I love the song. But there's just so many good songs. See, if there weren't so many good songs, I wouldn't have to not want to hear some of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Goose, stop writing so many good songs. It's a problem.
Yeah. See, I don't think that's offensive. You know what I mean?
I think
it's like a compliment, kind of.
That seems like a backhanded compliment, like that you're upset at them for writing so many good songs because now you have to not want them.
Should we go to night 2?
Yes.
In Chesterfield?
Just outside of St. Louis.
In an office
the field
park.
of Chester.
Before we get into this show, I would like to give a huge shout out to Sim Turner from WTED, who did a live podcast with me that day, recapping night 1 at the brewery right near the venue. It was awesome. First time AAT had ever done a podcast in front of an audience. Shout out to everybody who came out. We had a great turnout, and it was a lot of fun. Love to do it again.
Yeah, shout out to Sim for having really just endless patience, because sitting next to Ryan doing a podcast, as somebody who's done it before,
where I'm holding the mic.
I don't think either of you guys have. Well, he's holding a mic. I mean, that's hard. And I said, if we ever do a live episode, I would never let Ryan hold the microphone, ever. So shout out to Sim. A picture of patience. Really, just a humble, kind man. And thank you for doing that with Ryan. I think we all say we appreciate you. Thank you for not punching Ryan in the middle of that live broadcast.
I think we did.
I mean,
I think it was fantastic.
Sim's a good dude. I've had a couple opportunities over the last week or so to converse and hang out with him. He's definitely a good dude.
Okay.
Night 2. Set 1, Iguana Song opener. Was wondering was this the first opener? I think this is the first time they've opened with it, right?
I believe so.
Wondering when that would happen.
Yeah.
It felt like it was going to come at some point. It feels like an opener.
Yeah.
Flow Down, Honeybee, Caution, Ate Up All the Cake, Yeti, Everything Must Go. This whole show's a little tough for me. But I like the Iguana opener. And then, Flow Down. We kind of talked about this earlier. It's not the opener. 2 spot here. Then Honeybee after a really long time on the shelf. And then back-to-back covers. And then Yeti. And then Everything Must Go. So, yeah, I mean, I like Iguana Song and I like Everything Must Go. And I do like Ate Up All the Cake. But that's a rough spot for it, coming off a Caution and then Yeti. I don't know. just a really weird flow, I guess, for me on this. Um, do we? Speaking of flow down, I think maybe this might have been a mail sack question. Um, do we need to say flopener in the notes,
Yes.
or like just
Okay, Neil. Yes, we do. It
You
is
just-
the proper notation when they open with a
No, it's
flow
not.
down.
it's
No, it's
the
not.
song is flow down and they open the show.
And
But
sometimes
it's still flow down.
it's a flopener. When they open with it, it's a flopener.
Let
Anyway.
me pose a question, Jive. Would you call this an iguan opener?
No, but see, the term flopener predates all of us. So who are we to be the authorities? You know?
I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
question. I mean, Honeybee coming back after 366 days. Coach on Rainstick, getting his own mic on stage for the first time for the Rainstick. Big milestone. And Caution getting the Green River treatment.
I don't think that's how you play the rain stick beat.
No, but Caution getting the Green River treatment. A little bit of a jam there. Would love to see that in future versions, and everything must go, kind of went there a little bit. But yeah, I agree with you, B. This whole show, nothing to write home about.
Kev?
Oh man, I mean, there's not much to say here.
Oh, are you Kev now?
Shoot, man. Well, Kev is indisposed at the moment, but I'll say this about Honeybee, because I actually had a prepared thing about Honeybee, because I knew everybody was gonna be like,
You have a
"Oh,
script?
man, Honeybee," and like,
Prepared
no,
remarks?
Hey,
script.
hey, listen, I have always defended Honeybee and said that it's a really beautiful jam at the end. It's a nice song. So sorry, go ahead. I just didn't want to get lumped in with these guys.
Yeah, Kev is in tears. It's an excellent guitar solo, and in fact, I think it's one of the best composed guitar solos that Rick has. It's really, really good, and the fact that it sat on the shelf for a really long time it's enhanced the song a ton. And you've got like the rain stick thing, and like the like that whole thing, and like, I mean, it's great and all, but like, Rick is pretty great in it. So I don't know, like, people hating on this song, I disagree strongly. I think it deserves a spot in the rotation, like once or twice a tour, and like that's where it needs to live. It's just right
Sorry,
there.
once or twice a tour? Or a year?
Once or twice a tour. Tour.
Wow, yeah, it sounds like you both are great advocates for Honeybee.
Yeah.
I'm not an advocate for Honeybee, but
you're
like,
advocating for it twice a tour. That's regular rotation.
Well, I'm not a fan of shitting on Honeybee, because I think it's a great song, and I think Rick really committed to writing an excellent solo for that song, and that solo shouldn't be lost forever. The Rainstick I can deal without. Some people are big Rainstick fans. I'm not that guy.
Encore that. No, actually don't.
no. For
What is
God's
this,
sake,
2021?
No.
Okay, set
Set
2.
two.
Thatch, Knights in White Satin, Jeff Angborg, Rosewood Heart, Spirit of the Dark Horse, Hot Tea, and then a Salt Encore. I do like the Thatch in this spot. And I like Salt.
And that's it. This is the vibe set, right? Like the Thatch is good, nothing crazy, and then after that, they play a bunch of songs that are having a good time. But like, Rosewood doesn't really jam, Dark Horse doesn't jam, Hot Tea has the Michael Jackson Working Day and Night jam in it. But like,
that's a sick Hot Tea though.
Yeah,
don't hit on that. That's dope.
Whatever. Knights in White Satin, notable gap. Last played at the Fox Oakland 2023, 122 shows here. But yeah, I agree with you, B. It's like, for a second set, it's vibes night. And I will say maybe the band recognized that this St. Louis crowd was the least engaged crowd of the tour that I had seen so far, or that any of us had seen really, who were on a lot of the shows.
Well, maybe they just didn't get enough goons.
Well, I mean, we didn't get the goons, but I think the crowd was more engaged in this vibe set because casual fans who are talking a lot love when the band, plays a bunch of songs without a lot of jamming. But yeah, I wasn't totally a fan. Still not.
I have nothing to add. I mean, shoot, man, this is a tough set. You get a Thatch, which is great. You get Nice and White Satin, which is also, I don't know. I love this cover. I think it could do more than what it's done historically. It's like dark and weird, and it's like oddly like a late 60s psychedelic jam. Like it sounds like it should be from the early 80s, but it's not. I don't know. It's something about it that I like. And then Engborg always enhances the set, and this one didn't disappoint. I mean, Engborg is sick, right? Can we agree on that?
I mean, Engborg is
If
always
you don't
sick.
agree. Yeah. So there's that, and then you get kind of a couple rarities, I think, because they wanted to throw them out there to the crowd. Then you get Michael Jackson Hot Tea. Fuck yeah! I mean, how does it get better than that? They're just doing
It
a
was in the
Michael
encore.
Jackson jam for however many minutes. The encore was Salt.
No, I know, but you said, how does the hot tea get better than that? And we all know that hot tea
Salt.
gets better
Yeah.
if it's in the encore.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying Hot Tea was in the
Encore
encore.
that
In any
shit.
case, yeah, not the strongest second set Goose has ever played, but fun.
Yeah.
And filled with like, if you're like catching the show, like you're checking songs off of boxes, like you get your Dark Horse, you get your Rosewood. I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah, people love fun. People love fun. Well, that brings us to the end of the first half of the Everything Must Go summer tour so far that we are covering on this episode. And of course,
Let's do a leg one sack.
yes, Kev, this time for the leg one sack, we're going to open it right up here. Shout out to everybody who submitted, of course, this time. I'm going to go ahead and pick one here from Tyler Hensley. Where does Sleeveless Rick stack against some of the greats like Sunglasses Rick, Chaco's Rick, or Backwards Hat Rick? I would say Sleeveless Rick is the only one of these personas, if you will, to borrow a term from Neil, that has really been allowed to, kind of come into his own based on the number of sleeveless shows that were on this tour, which I don't know if any of Rick's shirts have sleeves left at this point. I wonder. But I think Sleeveless Rick is a force. I think he loves, the unencumbered arms. I'm currently sleeveless, and I'm loving the unencumbered arms. I don't think I'm ever going to wear a sleeveless shirt out in public ever again. But, it fits. It fits the vibe. And I think, talking about the Boise Rosewood again, you don't get that kind of energy if you have sleeves on.
And so real quick, the question was alternative Ricks.
I mean, yeah, let's expand it to all alternative Rick looks.
So my top two Ricks right now would be one of them is a throwback Bushido Rick from Bingo Tour era.
It's intense.
And then my second one would be friend of the pod, Madison Huvan's creation, Tiny Rick.
Yes.
Go check out his t-shirt, little t-shirt jam. Tease that jam. Tease that jam. .com. He's got all the cool styles. He's a madman. But he had Mads man. But dovetailed into that is his question: what's next for the band? And I would say what's next for the band is they're going to play more shows.
I think what's next for the band is Newport Folk Fest.
They're going to play more shows.
Yeah. Hard to argue
Well,
there.
I mean, I think they did a really good job of celebrating the Newport Folk Fest and by encouraging them to have it on Jive Goose's birthday. So shout out to the band and the management for doing that as a celebration of Jive Goose. So what's next for the band? I don't know. Like more of the same. There's going to be more Goons. There's going to be some kind of spectacular Goons performance coming soon. I refuse to believe that we're going to be pigeonholed into just like this very narrow Goons thing.
So you think they'll do like a mini tour?
not a mini tour necessarily, but there. I mean, there are things coming. They're not doing the Goons at Newport though. I'm certain of that.
So let's segue with that Goons into another question from B. Will there be improved back end security on the Jotty bracket this year?
That was my question. Damn it.
Prevent any Goons lovers from penetrating through. Well, that's okay, Neil, because I want to actually expand on this a little bit, because I don't know about the back end security piece, because I'm not involved in the inner workings of Storm Sound Enterprises. But what I do think is interesting about this question is, and maybe it's a little bit of a different question, is what do you think is going to happen in terms of the bracket and the Goose Jams? I think we've seen in the past there can be heavy public, heavy push by the public for some jams that we might not think are the most improvisationally impressive jams, but people get behind a certain jam just because they love it, and I think that's okay. I think Jam of the Year can mean anything to anyone. But yeah, do you guys think we're gonna see many of the Goose jams they've already played? Neil, you just said you think something big is coming still.
Sure. Yeah.
So do we predict success in the bracket with these Goose jams?
Yes, absolutely. I think we're going to see some jams that maybe like we are not psyched on. And I think I touched on this earlier in the podcast when I said the Thatch that they played was like a classic Goose jam that we were all going to be hooked about. And then you were like, it's number one on my list, right? So I think we all have a style of jams that we like. I think the weird thing that we all have to accept as, the four of us on the podcast is that this whole thing has expanded a shit ton since we started it. And we all had kind of a very narrow view of what our best jams were. And all of a sudden, all of these people kind of are coming in and there's all these voices talking about these jams. And there's all of a sudden this view of like, well, maybe the way you guys look at jams isn't the way I look at jams. And like, I certainly don't fault those people. And the cool thing about the Jam of the Year bracket is not what decides, the best jam. It's about the fact that we're talking about it. And so, yes, I expect it to change. I expect the Goons to change the conversation a lot. Like, am I psyched about it? Like, yes and no. I'm psyched about it, the fact that the conversation is ramping up. I am less psyched about the fact that the jams that I love are going to be less well represented in the bracket. And that's fine, though, in the long run, because I like the conversation. Kev, you had something
Yeah,
to say.
two quick comments on that, to that question, B. I'm going to make a couple predictions here. I think, one, we will definitely see a Goons Jam in the top Sweet 16. I think there will be a Goons Jam in the Sweet 16. And I also think there will be a like a less than 14-minute jam also in the Sweet 16. Those are my two predictions. There's going to be a super efficient jam that ends up like making it through because of how good it is. And I also think like with Goons, where they're going, the way they're experimenting with it, to your point, people are going to enjoy that enough that it's going to make it through. And it should be a people's tournament. Like, it's Jam of the Year. And I know like Ryan's like, he's quaking inside right now. He's not feeling good about this discourse. But I think that's like where the community and what they deem, it's not what we deem, it's what they deem as the Jam of the Year, sort of where the tastes of the community are going.
Agreed. And I think, we're halfway through the year. I think there's a lot of really great candidates. And I just hope that we don't get, the MSG bias too much. I think last year we saw some of the bigger shows get a lot more attention because there were a lot more people there. And I think this year some of the best jams have come out of some of the smaller shows. Even Bend Thatch, like 4,000 people there, still a good amount, but taking place in Oregon, I think a lot of the people who were at that show aren't necessarily as active in the Jam of the Year bracket as people who live out east who were at MSG, for example. Or, people that were at Milwaukee and Grand Rapids in February. And
so you're starting to talk about there's going to be some East Coast bias creeping in.
Yeah, I would say more specifically MSG bias, and we'll see what happens in the fall. Obviously, there's lots of shows left. We have the whole fall tour and Goosemas, of course. So I'm really curious to see what happens here. But yeah, B, your thought?
Yeah, I mean, I think 4,000 in Bend, right? But I think surely as like Nugs continues to offer free streams, and I don't have the numbers, but there's a lot. I feel like there's probably a lot more people streaming, like in 2025 versus 2024, or certainly versus if you go back to like 2023.
Yeah,
2024, I think there was a big jump too. But so that's who knows? Then more people at a show, but we could be talking about certainly thousands of streams. I don't know if it's tens of thousands, but it's definitely thousands of streams.
Yeah, and just to add to that, like we have to also be concerned about all the people in Toronto who saw those 2 sick shows.
All right,
who are definitely going to drive those jams way up the charts. So we definitely have to worry about those folks. But I mean, listen, man, it's up to the people. That's the whole point of the Jam of the Year bracket. So they can choose what they want to choose. Like if the Toronto folks like feel really good about all of those sick jams from Toronto, they can definitely drive them up the board. Jive, what do you got?
Put Algonzo on there, man. Put Algonzo on there. Put Luna Luna on there. Like,
all right,
hey, man. Let's your direction this. Come on, let's go.
I've had something to say here.
I think maybe you're referring to the jam tariff of February.
Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the first half of our Everything Must Go Summer Tour recap. I know, Kev, it feels like we just started here. We've only been potting for a little while. Well, as always, we thank everybody so much who has tuned into this episode and everybody that tuned into the day after shows throughout the tour. Once again, this summer was, I think, Neil, I'm speaking for myself, but I think this was the most fun that I've had, getting on the podcast every day and talking about the shows. And I think that's just partly due to how the band is playing and they're having so much fun. But I think, having so many people engaged every day really just feels so special. And we really appreciate everybody who's tuning in live to those.
Yeah, man. It's really, I'm thankful for everybody who listens to the shit that we do. Like it's kind of amazing. And appreciative of everybody who listens to these recorded episodes, which I think are hallmark. And man, it's just a blast. And to whoever the guy was that took my poster in New Hampshire, if you're listening to this podcast, which I hope you are, like my name's on the poster, like you reach out to the podcast account, like if you want to send it back to me. I'm sure it was a mistake.
It was definitely a mistake. But
it's definitely a mistake. It was definitely a mistake.
Anybody. Anyway, we will see you guys.
Well, hold on. As long as Neil's talking about his poster, I had a rain jacket at Fiddler's. We were seated right in front of
Fiddler's
the
Night One.
If anybody made it home with
could
that,
you describe
just by accident,
could you describe what it
reach out
looked like?
Reach out to Storm Sound Enterprises. And
what did it look like?
It's like, kind of dark blue and black.
What brand?
Patagonia.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a men's extra small triple
slim fit.
Slim fit.
Yeah. That'd be yeah.
And remember, at Fiddler's, if you're leaving, it's 50% off merch after the show. Everybody, thank you so much for listening to this episode. We'll be back.
The Lost and Found is free.
Yes, we'll be back sometime soon with our second half of Summer Tour recap covering Indy through Westville. And of course, we've got 2 dates coming up this summer. Newport Folk for Jive Goose's birthday and Park City Song Summit before things kick off for quote-unquote fall tour. Just in case anybody's listening that is very proper about the seasons. Before that kicks off at the Gorge on August 31st. Anyway, we love you all. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Always Almost There. We will see you next time. Have a fantastic day.
I think Lost in